a lesser movie would have had them be in, a Deliverance style. Ooh, everything. Oh my god.
We got a jump scare up in here.
Oh, I cannot with that.
And there goes Allison's mic.
You are fucking up my shit. Damn. Oh my god. Okay. Josh, you got that right there.
Oh, that's going at the top. What are you talking about?
Take two.
That's the clip for the beginning of the episode.
In the morning, I'm making waffles.
Whoever said orange was the new pink was seriously disturbed.
And when it comes to huge openings, a lot of people think of me.
Just call me a fuck ass.
Brilliant. Scary. I get nasty when I'm horny.
Welcome to Not Another 2001 Movie Podcast, a show exploring movies released during the first year of a chaotic century. Don't be afraid, because he can smell it. I'm Slate.
I'm Allison.
I'm Josh, and I'm smelling you right now, not later.
All right, guys. So, what's a song that no matter, where you are when you hear it, it immediately makes you think of a movie that it's attached to?
I've got two.
Okay.
Actually, and I didn't want to do anything that was too modern, because I think a lot of people would say something like Guardians of the Galaxy or anything where James Gunn has really done a good job of tying pop music to scenes. But the first is the Banana Boat song from Beetlejuice. Possessed, and they all get up and start dancing and singing.
The hell! That one?
Yeah,
okay.
that's I think of that movie every time I hear that song.
Wasn't that like a big Volkswagen commercial at one point?
I don't know.
It was definitely some kind of car commercial with that song in it that was like iconic for a little while, and it made me always think of Beetlejuice too. So yeah, I got you.
The other one is, have you all seen Ace Ventura?
Of course.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The Lion Sleeps Tonight to the sex scene.
Okay.
That was actually the first one I thought of. I was just like, oh wow, I guess I didn't realize how embedded in my brain that was.
Allison, here's the problem with that choice is that 95% of Americans would hear The Lion Sleeps Tonight and would think of a movie you've never seen, and that is The Lion King.
Yeah, well.
All right, Josh, what about you, man?
I mean, so shocker. Mine is I think I've brought this soundtrack up before on the show. Actually, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie soundtrack, the first movie soundtrack is even if you hate Power Rangers, the soundtrack is fucking awesome. Like it's just popish rock songs that from start to finish that sort of are mostly at the beginning of the movie, a lot of them, but Higher Ground from Red Hot Chili Peppers is like the first scene of the movie. They're jumping out of an airplane and it's like playing the whole time. The Trouble by Shampoo, and you would know the song if you hear it, but you might not know it but it's like we're in trouble, like it's that's how it goes. It was a popular song at some point that plays during some other action later in the movie. And then the one that the two that though I'll shout out, because there's like multiple songs. It's like anytime I hear them, I'm thinking about these scenes exactly in my mind. Is a Free Ride from Dan Hartman is another one of the songs where they're like, it's like right before all the action, really, like the first time they morph and go to a battle in the movie. They're like roller skating through a streets of Australia, which is where the movie was filmed. And then Dreams from Van Halen is how the
nice.
Final scene starts playing over the final scene and into the credits. So I wish I had a non-Power Rangers answer, and I kind of thought about it for a while, because that was like, I'm pretty sure I brought this soundtrack up on a previous episode, but
yeah, I think we were talking about the was it the Exit Wounds soundtrack?
Possibly.
And we were I think that's what it was.
But this one, with the particular question, like every one of those scenes, I can picture it perfectly, and and I don't associate any of those songs with anything else either,
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. Much like you, I associate a couple songs from films that I am very passionate about. Of course, they're both in the horror community and the horror genre. So for me, the first one that always stands out is going to be the Chordettes, Mr. Sandman, with the original Halloween and really every Halloween. Like you, Josh. Honestly, the every time I hear it, I usually go right to the opening sequence of Halloween H2O when they're carving the pumpkin, because like you just get that Mr. Sandman bum bum bum, and like there's a knife that stabs into the pumpkin, and that's like the first thing in the movie. So that always hits. And then of course, obviously right after seeing Scream 7, I got to go with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Red Right Hand. You can always kind of, you hear that bell. One. Yeah, like that's a song that I don't know if I've ever heard until I saw the original Scream.
In any other context?
Yeah, I've never heard it in any. Yeah, exactly. And then you hear it in the original Scream when the sun goes down, the town's getting put on curfew and stuff, and every Scream has at least one needle drop of that song in it. And so like anytime you ever were to hear it, which 95% of the time you hear it's probably only in a Scream film, but if you're ever like just come across it one day, like that's the first thing I think of as soon as I hear that bell and just the music to start to play and the deep voice of the guy talking as he's singing Red Right Hand. So yeah. But yeah, guys, the reason why I asked this question.
Sorry, before you go on, I did want to kind of add a question or something, or maybe not a question, but just kind of a thought, thinking thing. So you brought up with like The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Obviously, The Lion King is the movie that everyone should first come
associate
to mind.
with. Yeah, absolutely.
And that reminds me, just because that period of time they were, like the Broadway top music was big for those movies. But then they brought in Phil Collins for Tarzan towards the end of the 90s, and all of those songs, and they're really good songs, like independent of the movie, like really good, like love songs and family songs, but it's so hard for me to ever think about them as anything but songs from Tarzan when I'm so I would like to be like, I would almost wish I could, like, I like Tarzan the movie, but like I wish I could erase the movie from my head when I hear some of those songs.
And they are so distinct with the drums. Yeah,
is just it's the Titanic song, and
see, like the reason why the point of this question, and the Titanic song is absolutely the song that you can. I mean, obviously, but like I'm glad that you guys kind of took it the way that I was asking it, in like songs that weren't specifically designed for that movie. It's just a song that is associated with this film because of an iconic moment in the movie or whatever, what have you. So, I mean, yeah, I think those are also good options, but somewhat a cop-out, right? Like, if you were to say, well, ain't no sunshine, or X gonna give it to you, like, with Exit Wounds and Credits to the Grave, they're made for that movie. So, like, I get that, but these songs are just, a lot of these songs came out 30, 40 years before, the movie itself, and somehow that's what we associate them with. So, but yeah, the reason why I asked this question is because the film that we're discussing today is titled after a song that is very prevalent to the movie, and it's obviously become, iconic amongst the horror genre. So cue the music, Josh, and let's talk some Jeepers Creepers.
Jeepers Creepers. Nobody? No one's going to bump in?
Where'd you get those peepers?
What a weird song.
Alrighty, guys. So I picked Jeepers Creepers in the I'm Scared Dog, a.k.a. our fictional horror category. And the scariest thing about this movie may actually be the controversy that surrounds this film. And its creator / director. But I think it's best if we give this movie our full honest feedback and unbiased opinion, and let's save our personal feelings and criticisms for the bonus feature at the end.
Yes, as I told Josh when you disappeared one of your 3 times, you dropped off.
Yeah,
that's the real horror of this episode.
Yeah.
It's my computer. I'm sorry, guys.
His computer didn't want us to talk about a pedophile.
He's in the I'm tired dog category. My computer.
I can't, dog. I'm going to talk about this movie in the same headspace that I had before I Googled this movie after I watched it. Because I told Josh, I don't like to look up the movies I haven't seen. I don't want to know anything about them. I want to go in, blank and fresh. And I had, some thoughts. And then I looked it up and I was horrified. So.
Yeah. If you don't know the history of Victor Salva, the man who wrote and directed Jeepers Creepers, and owns all the intelligent property of this, the IP of this
intellectual
franchise, the intellectual property. Thanks, Josh.
I knew you knew what it was. I saw you struggling there.
I was intelligent, intellectual, couldn't get there. But yeah, if you don't know those things about the backstory of this movie and its creator, we're going to get into it, and it's going to be a long conversation. It's going to be a heavy, deep conversation about some very sensitive subject materials. So we'll get into that towards the end, and I'll give you another warning before we start discussing it. But I appreciate you guys, taking this movie as the movie is, how we saw it originally before we knew everything about it, and talking about it in the sense of let's just talk about it as the movie itself. So Jeepers Creepers stars Justin Long as Derry Jenner, and this is his third film ever. Long debuted in 1999 with the star-studded comedy cast of Galaxy Quest. People in
really
this
good movie. I like that movie.
Dude, that's a crazy film to be like your debut, and you're working with the likes of Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Tony Shalhoub, Sam Rockwell, Alan Rickman. Like, that's just wow. So I'm sure he was probably soaking in as much as he could, trying to learn from them. And Long's created a very good career for himself, from doing this movie to doing other horror movies. Like, he's kind of become like a scream king in a sense, but also he did the Mac and laptop commercials, and he's in some really good comedies too. He's kind of had a well-rounded career, and
I bet those commercials are what have paid for him to just kind of go and do whatever he wants to, really, in terms of some of these weird projects. Like, he's like in Tusk and some of this stuff that like is like
Barbarian,
really low budget. Yeah, Barbarian's great. I love him in Barbarian.
Yeah, I love Barbarian.
It's a Wonderful Knife. Have you guys seen that? I bet you haven't.
I haven't seen that one.
All right, so It's a Wonderful Knife is a Justin Long movie where he plays the mayor of this town, who's also a serial killer, and It's a Wonderful Life, like the Christmas movie, reimagined as a horror film in today's town. It's awesome. And Justin Long is pretty weird in it. Like, he's got like this like teeth prosthetics that make his face look weird and fake. Like, he just looks phony, but it's
what is it with him in these prosthetic teeth movies?
Yeah, for real. So it's like Tom Hardy with a mask in every film that he's in. So. Okay. All right. But Justin Long's second film, Happy Campers, releases 2 years later in January of 2001. So just 7 months before Jeepers Creepers is released. And Derry, Justin Long's character, Derry, and his sister Trish, who's played by Gina Phillips, come face to face with fear itself in this movie, who we now know as the Creeper. Okay. So Gina Phillips plays Trish. She is the top billed cast member in this movie, and honestly, her entire career before this movie seems to be a bunch of appearances in just like TV shows or movies that are made for TV. This film seems like a coming out party for Justin Long. For the next decade, in every movie I see him in, including the commercials that we talked about earlier with Mac and PC, all I can think of is every time I see Justin Long is, wow, that guy started in Jeepers Creepers. Like, I remember the first time I saw that movie, I'm walking in the living room and my mom has it on the TV and she's watching it, and I sat down and just was hooked. And I didn't know anything about Justin Long until I had seen that movie. So I will always associate him with this film.
It's interesting. I mean, he's nowhere near the prominence as Johnny Depp, but for him to have that similar kind of start point for most people, because like Depp was, Nightmare on Elm Street, and
Kevin Bacon and Friday the 13th.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon and Friday the 13th, and yeah, obviously he didn't hit the levels of those guys, but
like Jennifer Aniston was in, I can't remember which
Leprechaun, the original Leprechaun.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I think George Clooney's first movie was something called Grizzly 2. It was it wasn't even the first Grizzly. It was the sequel, which I'm sure was even worse than the first one.
Or better.
Had to be. Okay. So the budget for Jeepers Creepers was roughly about $10 million, thanks mostly to Francis Ford Coppola, oddly enough. And we'll get more into him later in this podcast as well. Jeepers Creepers earned $37.9 million domestically and $59.3 million worldwide, making it an instant success. That was success made it due for an immediate sequel that followed and released just 2 years later. And Jeepers Creepers 2 ended up setting the box office record at that time for Labor Day weekend box office numbers. So, but the weird thing about Jeepers Creepers 2 is that while obviously it set that record, and while I remember it being like a much bigger event as far as like the movie theater experience and people talking about like, oh, you got to go see it, and everywhere you went, the trailer was on TV. The budget was almost double. Like it was $17 million, and it had almost the exact same box office numbers. It still only did $35.6 million domestically, and I don't understand how the first film did more money domestically than the second film. That blows my mind. And then it was $63.1 million worldwide box office. So it's essentially like the same thing on almost a double the budget, which is weird to me because like I remember Jeepers Creepers 2 being a big deal.
That used to be a little more the case. Now, I mean, the Marvel kind of run is throwing a lot of that stuff off, like it used, because like the Avengers, like I'll keep making. Now, I got a feeling this next Avengers ain't going to come close to Endgame. Would be my hunch, but they kind of, like all the Spider-Mans. I think the last few Spider-Mans have made the most of any Spider-Man, leading up to that. But for a long time, that and generally still is the case. Sometimes, like most sequels do tend to make less over time than the original. But it's odd, like it was that close, though. I do think it's a little strange that like they were that close, and they got like, why did they need double the budget? I guess it's just because it's not like they were bringing spoilers, not bringing back a bunch of people, and it wasn't like they were demanding more from the talent that was coming back from the. I mean, unless Coppola was trying to get back, that's the part. I guess maybe Coppola and like Salva maybe could have been getting more up front to come back and do something bigger. But it's weird. But just on the second movie for a second, because I could have sworn that I'd seen this movie before, and it's possible that I have, but after I watched it, like there were scenes that I remembered from the second one that I was associating with the first one. So I know for sure I've watched the second one bad. So this might have been my first time watching this one.
Okay. Allison, do you remember anything at this time, like during 2001 or 2003 when this movie first came out and the sequel and everything?
I didn't know what this movie was about. I remember when it came out. I remember it being out, but I think I thought this was. I think in my head I'm conflating this with The Hills Have Eyes, maybe.
Okay.
But no, I didn't really know the premise of this movie, and just I don't know. There's so much schlocky horror that I was just like, I'm not really interested in seeing it. But I'm glad that we watched it for this podcast.
Okay.
Well, and this was like the time. I know we'll get into it more probably, but this was like the time where, like things like The Hills Have Eyes, like there were a lot of remakes coming, and like it's kind of strange. Like this was one of the few.
Well, that's why
original things.
Yeah, that's why I picked this movie for this category and for this podcast. It was one of the ones that like I was extremely excited about as soon as Josh raised the idea of a 2001 movie podcast, because I was like, man, horror movies were in a weird spot, and this felt like kind of one of the ones that was like refreshing the horror genre, and it really kind of had its own renaissance with this movie. And it's weird because like I don't remember ever hearing or seeing anything about this movie until I walked in on my mom watching it in the living room when she rented it from Blockbuster because she heard it was good, and but I remember like everything big about the second movie and like just people talking about going to see it. Like it felt like one of those ones that word of mouth is what got it really going.
Now that I'm thinking about it, we were the right age to go see the third because they're PG-13, right?
No, they're rated R.
Oh, they're rated. Well, they're soft R's.
They're soft
They
R's.
they were the kind of R's that you could sneak into in middle school and feel. And we would have been like 13 when the second one come out. So,
Josh, buddy, sneaking in soft R's just doesn't. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, man. This is an all-white podcast. Watch yourself.
Oh God. Oh man.
All right. Okay. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Enough about sequels, though. Let's get back to the original film. Jeepers Creepers was written and directed by the protege of Francis Ford Coppola. His name is Victor Salva. We will have a lot to say about him in the bonus feature. Stay tuned for that. It's probably going to take up the majority of this podcast. Yeah. So let's get to the plot, okay? The plot of this film is essentially that Derry and Trish, his sister, are played by Phillips and Long. They're driving on their way home to their parents' house from college while on school break. While driving on a backcountry road, they're ambushed and almost ran off the road by some maniac in a rusted old souped-up paddy wagon truck. It's like a big rusty junker, but it's, flying down the highway. He scares the absolute shit out of them before he passes and speeds off into the distance. The license plate on the truck reads Beating You, or Beatingu. Derry pronounces it as Beating You, but later I think we come to the realization that it's actually pronounced Be Eating You. So, later they pass Mr. Beating You, Be Eating You, a.k.a. the Creeper, played by Jonathan Breck, who is actually insanely handsome, by the way. He's a good-looking fella. And he actually has a cameo as one of the cops at the end of the movie, before the Creeper grabs the dude and rips his heart out, which is awesome. But they pass the Creeper. The Creeper has pulled off to the side of the road. He's parked his truck right in front of an old abandoned church. And Derry and his sister Trish, as they're driving by, they witness him throwing bodies covered in like white blankets, sheets, tarps, whatever you want to call it. And he's throwing these bodies down a massive drain pipe. The Creeper sees them driving past, and basically the rest of the movie is a cat and mouse game where the siblings are trying to outrun the Creeper. Long story short, he ends up like flying past them again, leaving them, and he runs them off the road after he sees that they've spotted him, and they decide to go back to the church. Derry crawls down the pipe and discovers what he calls the Sistine Chapel, if you will, of bodies that have been just strung up all over the walls that are sewn together, missing pieces, and everything else. So the siblings then run after they figure out what's really down those pipes. They run to like the nearest town and try to call the police. They come across a psychic woman named Giselle, who's played by Patricia Belcher. Giselle is our exposition mouthpiece for this movie. She's explaining that the Creeper comes out of hibernation every 23rd spring for 23 days. Stevie King's It, anybody? Question mark there. That's the one thing it's not really original about this movie. Anyways, he comes out every 23 years, decides he's going to scare the daylights out of people so that he can smell their fear. And the fear allows him to smell which body parts of that person that he would like to eat, essentially storing them to keep himself alive and keeping his body functional. So, for instance, if you were to run over him a million times and basically cut his leg off with the tires of your car, he can just grow one back after he eats one. So,
as you do.
Yeah. now that we've laid the groundwork, let's get into it. What did you guys think of this movie?
Can I tell you something?
Yeah, go ahead.
You didn't bring it up.
Okay.
And I wasn't going to mention it because I wanted to be the one to break it to you. Slate, did you know that if you go by Josh's rules, you could have drafted this in the true story category?
No, what we fucking.
That really happened?
So-
because it's based off of Ed Gein, right?
No, there's a. It's interesting that when I was reading about Jeepers Creepers, none of this came up. But I was listening to some podcasts that one of the ones I listened to had an episode about this movie, and it was like the story behind Jeepers Creepers, and I was like, huh? And I listened to it. So I'm going to send you a link. Basically the first half of this movie sort of really happened based on a real case. There was are they brother and sister or a couple? Yeah, I think they're a couple. A couple was driving and this massive truck like scared them to death, overtook them. Then later they see the truck off to the side and they look over and they see the guy with a sheet covered in blood, and he's clearly trying to dispose of what they're like, oh my God, that's a body. The guy notices, he chases him down. Like they have this whole, like they turn down a side road and he keeps going, or he stopped for a while, but basically, and then they decide to go back because they were
Jesus Christ.
They were even, they says they were even playing the license plate game. And that the woman's like, I remember
Really?
playing the license plate because we were playing this game. And they're like, we got to go find a phone. We got to go back.
Was his license plate Gay Fever?
I can't
Gay
remember
forever?
what it was.
That's
But
what
they turned around to go back to find the truck intentionally because they wanted to have the full license plate. And they actually saw him. They passed him because he had also turned around. He was changing out the license plate on his truck. And then they called the police. And yeah, he had killed his wife. His name is Dennis LePew.
So what you're saying is that this is way more of a true story than Dominic Toretto and his Misfits and the Fast and Furious.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
But the podcast I listen to is called Dark Hearts.
Okay.
If you want to listen to the episode she does on this, but it blew my mind.
That is kind of wild.
Should have done better research, Slade, is all I'm going to say.
Well, all right. No, well, here's, the funny thing is like the research that I had come across had said essentially that, the Creeper is inspired somewhat by Ed Gein, like most serial killers, because he's, making furniture out of victims and everything else, and the Creeper's using their body parts to store and use for tools and everything else. And so, but, man, I'm not going to lie, like, that's really cool, Allison, that you told that story, but it actually takes a little bit away from the creativity for me. Like, part of this whole movie that I thought is, like, really creative is, like, where did he come up with this license plate game? Like, was that something that he played as a kid? No, like, is that something he played as a kid or whatever? And, like, making that as, like, how you identify the Creeper is kind of unique, and then just the whole concept of being ran off the road and, like, all of that, like the beginning, the first 30, 40 minutes is a really good setup for this film. And when you find out that it's actually a story that he had, I guess, had to have heard or read or something to make it match up with this movie. And then obviously, like, the Creeper comes out every 23rd year. They're like, well, okay. So really, the only, like, original part of this is, like, eating and storing the body parts and the Creeper himself, but the Creeper himself is really just kind of like Victor Salva's version of the creature from the Black Lagoon. But, we'll get into that too. So, man, like, this feels like it came off as original, but now is it really original? It feels really inspired.
But I mean, where do original ideas come from? It's inspired by...
That's fair.
That doesn't bother me because, yeah, if you're like, oh, that's such an interesting story and what can I take from it and turn it into something new, That didn't bother me.
That's they were like because my favorite, I mean, I know we're talking about the movie now, that first scene when they're in the car driving and they're just talking to each other, and I timed it out. I should have pulled this up, but I think it lasts 8 minutes before they, like, that first scene is like 8 minutes long. where they're in the car. Like it starts out where they're kind of just coming over the road. It's kind of, and then they're in the car for that until they stop and piss in the somebody's field, which is totally something I'm used to like seeing and doing growing up, like in the rural area, and that like. But then they get back on, and get chased by the vehicle. Like that reminded me of Duel, which is one of my favorites, Steven Spielberg movies. Like it's like very similar, like some of the stuff to that. And so yeah, a lot of this is just about, I think most people, if you get to a certain point to where you can make a Hollywood movie, like you're so influenced by what you've seen and read, and you just a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's hard not to. It's hard, and I think it's original though. I still think it's original. I think the creature is very, the creeper is very. I mean,
he's iconic.
Iconic he's become speaks to the originality that's there. I think in a way that, there's nothing like him. Like I don't like he's like of all the movie monsters, he's very. He looks like the creature of the Black Lagoon kind of, but he's still very distinct from that even,
Yeah, and I mean, especially when he's in his like full form at the end of the movie with the antennas or whatever the headgear is, he's terrifying for sure. So yeah, but I guess, now that we've kind of laid the groundwork, what is your all's general thoughts on this movie? When do you guys like first remember watching it? Is this the first time you did watch it? And what did you think about it? And what did you like, dislike, and all that good stuff? Of course, we can touch on plot points along the way and kind of take people through the story. But yeah, what did you guys think?
It's my first time watching it, as I'd said. And overall, I thought it was pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised. I think the first 45 minutes are really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the twist that it's a supernatural being works for me, which is weird because I tend to... The horror trope of you think it's something supernatural and then, oh, psych, it's just like a crazy person. That is so old and tired to me, so I guess I maybe should appreciate that this is the other way around. But yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure that completely stuck the landing for me, but it didn't like ruin the movie or anything. I still overall really enjoyed the movie until I looked up the director. But
yeah, well, what I like about the choice for the creeper in a sense is that he is very, while he is clearly not human, he is also very human. Like he dresses like a human and tries to blend in.
He got a cute license plate.
Yeah, he's got a cool license plate. He drives a truck. He's
got a sense of humor.
He does. He's got an affinity for old music, and but like they even call him a lot of the movie until Giselle refers to it as it. But he clearly still feels like a man, but it doesn't feel like a man in a costume. It really feels real, like the prosthetics and the makeup, that's one of the massive takeaways from the fourth film in this franchise, Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Do not fucking watch it. Okay? One, it's the first film that they don't use the original actor to play the creeper. Two, it has gone through a lot of legal battles where apparently the production company that made the film is being sued for saying that they did not own the rights and did not have permission to make this movie. And so now it's being treated as a fan-made film. And of course, it was being made during COVID and the budget was awful and the CGI graphics and everything else are bad. But the worst part about it is clearly an African-American man in a costume. It looks like something you would see walking the streets on Halloween. It does not feel real at all. It's weird. It's so fucking weird. Going back to this one, the makeup prosthetics make it feel like it is a real thing, but I think it does a really good job of okay, Michael Myers is a human, but he has these supernatural powers, and you're he's almost more than human, right? The creeper is kind of more on the nose for that in the sense that he's very like a supernatural creature. He's not human, but he's still also very human. So it's it's a nice spin to it, I guess, for me. And
I
just think the character design's awesome, and you kind of run into multiple surprises with different things. Like you're like, holy shit, he's got bat wings, like and then holy shit, what is that screech? Is that a turtle fucking a shoe? How did they make that sound? And he's got the headgear and everything else. So. Josh, what about you, man? What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've had shared it before, but yeah, I think the first half of this movie, like about the first 30 to 40 minutes, are like if the entire movie was that met what the first 30, 40 minutes kind of raised in terms of the expectations. Like, I think I would probably think of this as like one of the best movies from this year. Like, seriously, like especially like the first like 10, 15 minutes, especially like I'm like I almost think I would have loved to seen this movie if it was just like them in the car.
If it's Joyride with the creeper the whole time.
Movie. Yeah,
I kept thinking this is shades of Joyride. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
my daughter
which is funny
even said
that they
that it
both come out the
Joyride.
same year. Like it's so funny. Like they and probably around the same time even. Like in theaters, I bet, or close to it. But it does peter out for me. And I know there's something, some scenes you like, and I like I know you pointed out the prison scene as something you really enjoy.
Yeah, you guys don't like the police station sequence?
There's things I like about. Oh yeah, police station. Yeah, there are things in that I like, but I get pretty. I like the psychic kind of wears thin on me. I think she's doing what she can, but I kind of like. I just don't. I can get past the she's like the exposition dumper. I can get past that, and I realize
I like her voice.
She sounds great. I mean, she's doing a good performance. It's nothing against the actress, but I just get enough of her pretty quickly.
She feels like a trope.
I feel like there could have been a different way for them to get all the information she gives them, or they could have figured out some aspects of this. Because it seems a little bit lazy to just be like, well, I'm psychic, and just be able to spout whatever fits the plot.
And I think some of it, like, all you really need to know about this creature is, okay, so we ran him over, and then he started flying, and we ran over his legs, and then he ate somebody's legs, and he grew his legs back. It's like that's something you can kind of observe and figure out on your own. And like some of the stuff, like that he comes out and that's the other thing, like that I think is strange about this. Like, okay, they're trying to establish him as like, okay, this happens every amount of time. Like, why? It doesn't really like.
Yeah,
I guess. I mean,
it matters more for the sequel.
Franchise. Yeah,
it matters more for the sequel than it does for this film itself. And I think that Allison, what you were talking about just a few minutes ago about just all the extra exposition stuff that they're throwing in here with her. I think they do a much better job of like fleshing that out in the sequel. Which, if you haven't seen it, I think you would actually probably like the sequel better than this film.
And that's the thing that's like, so you asked if we'd seen this before. Again, I felt like I'd seen this movie before, but as I was watching it, I was like, I don't remember a lot of this. Everything I was thinking of was coming from the second movie. And like, they get into a lot of like why the creeper exists, like in a way that everything I remembered about the monster was from the second movie, and some of the stuff they said about it in the second movie. So I was kind of applying that as I was watching it. So maybe that's affecting too how I perceive the psychic is she's just telling me stuff I know. You
like, already know it, yeah.
And that I don't feel like the characters really even need to know in this one. It's to me, it's like they just need to survive and want to survive. I don't think they need to know. And also, though, I will say there is something. In the scene where they first kind of all come together in that diner, and the creeper's like fucking been sniffing through Justin Long's underwear, and which we
now he knows my name.
We can get some of that. Like I think some of that's like, if you read, like, if you're kind of like the directors inserting themselves into the movie a little bit, like there's kind of, you can kind of start digging. We'll get into that, but.
I wish you hadn't said that, but yeah.
I almost got the sense in that scene before that, like this town knows, like this town knows that this is a thing that they just have to deal with. But then, like later on in the police station, it kind of gets, I get the vibe like, oh, like actually nobody really, like this is,
Yeah.
you know, they kind of just push aside the psychic, oh, you're a crazy, you're the town kook. So it kind of had a weird vibe about it because I felt like the people in the diner were like, oh, this is, it's like, you know, this is a thing that's happening, but you don't want to talk about it. Which is also another thing related to the director. We can, you know, it's like there's a lot of that kind of stuff in the movie that I feel like it's a little half baked, but there's really good, like, see under an underpinning of some good ideas there.
Well, Josh, I thought the same thing about the diner up until the point where the waitress says, "Oh my gosh, he's out there in your car," but like she sounds so shocked.
Yeah.
I thought they were all in on it too, but then just her reaction made me think, well, maybe they are not. But they were being a little weird when they walked in, and they're clearly in distress.
Well, you don't think that they're weird seeing, because all right, they're in a one-horse town with no lights, stranded on the side of the highway, and these two weird-ass college kids come in driving a 1950s Chevy, and
a really nice car, actually.
Yeah. And they're like, just, you know, Justin Long's acting fucking insane, and we need a cell phone, we need a phone, you know, and what the hell's wrong with you, bro? Like, I'm just here pouring Jebediah's black coffee in his mug, like, chill. All right, easy.
Can I talk about one thing that I think this movie does really well that a lot of horror movies do not do well is the relation. One, I think the name Derry is very dumb. Why not call him like Daryl?
It's short for Darius. They do call him Darius later.
Okay, I missed that part.
So Derry is short for Darius.
And what's her name?
Trish. And I think I know where you're going with this, but I do, and I've been meaning to say it, but we just hadn't got there yet. So Victor Salva decided to make them brother and sister instead of making them a couple, because he felt that there was no need to try to force like this love connection. It's already built in with the brother and sister, feels more organic. They can kind of nitpick and go back and forth with each other, and it makes it work more too towards the end. She's like, we're the same, I'm the same as him, you'd rather take me, you know. But instead of it being like a love story and boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife. Is that what you were going to go with, Allison? What it does really well is just those two characters together, or?
Yeah, but more so that they feel so lived in such a small. And you know, you mentioned the 8-minute shot at the beginning, but they do such a good job establishing their rapport, and they feel like siblings, and because of that, you care when shit starts happening to them, as opposed to a lot of horror movies where you've got cookie cutter characters and they're just fodder to be killed off, and
right.
you feel nothing. But this I found very distressing, and I applaud this movie for ending on a sad note. You know, like they didn't pull any punches. A lesser movie would have found a way to save them both, and then had some sort of, you know, cliffhanger type ending, but they went for it. And I was impressed by that. But yeah, it's just taking a little bit of time, and I'm shocked. I looked up Gina Phillips. I was like, she hasn't really, like,
she hasn't done much.
Yeah, her career.
And I thought she was so good in this movie.
Yeah,
so
she's great in this movie.
She's better. I mean, they're both good, but I think she's better than Justin Long in this movie, and that she is just like that she couldn't even like parlay it into just an extended horror career, you know? Like,
yeah.
I'm sure some of these things that
she may have been one of those people that didn't want to keep being typecast in horror, but like she could have absolutely killed it and made a career just doing horror movies for sure, 100%. She's awesome in it.
And I think that scene, you know, and their rapport. You are rooting for them the whole time. I never, like, there's times in horror movies where I'm like, just die, you fucking asshole, or like, die, you fucking loser. Like I'm ready for everybody in the fucking movie to get their throat slashed. And never in this, there's not a point in this movie where I wanted them to die. Like, you know, like, and that's like, I think that's a pretty big accomplishment for a horror movie. And they do feel so real. And I actually like that the conversation they're having in the car is very natural. It's very funny. It gets like there's things like seriousness about, like she's like talking about her boyfriend that might be beating her or assaulting her, and they're, you know, it gets kind of, you know, dark for a second, and but they're still brother and sister and kind of like, you know, giving each other shit, and I like that doesn't really come, you know, like that thread kind of just gets mentioned, but it's not like it's not pivotal to the story. It's just, it's something that's happening in this character's life. No, it's just letting
you know about like what's going on with these characters.
Like, yeah, but it feels natural.
Because again, my sister's 6 years older, but we used to call each other. She called me butt munch all the time. Butt munch, butt face, butt wipe, and that was a lot.
Yeah, they're going back and going back and forth, and it's like, yeah, you said butt ass, you said it twice, you lose, I win. Like, yeah, there's just the back and forth, and like, yeah, going to the whole like Derry's like, you know, why are we taking the back roads? There's always something wrong when you want to take the back roads. And I'm just saying what mom and dad would say. What happened to that nice boy you're dating? You know, and like that whole conversation is just really, it's only what, 2 minutes of the movie, that conversation itself, but like you learn so much about both of them and their dynamic in it. And then they start talking about like, mom, here you go, bring in home mom's clothes for you to wash. And, you know, it's like, it's just such a it's awesome. I don't know. It feels organic.
It's a ballsy way to open a movie too. Like, cause I mean, it's again, a very long conversation scene, you know, in a car, you know, it opens, you know, with this establishing shot. Like the first minute is like just the car coming up into the road and turning. Like, it's a pretty ballsy way to open a movie. Really, it really is. Like, it's filled with tension because of your expectations for what a horror movie is, I think. You know, I'm expecting, again, from not remembering having seen it before, I was expecting like 3 minutes in, like, oh, their car's going to, like, they're going to fucking run over a tire trap or something, or like something, you know, crazy is like going to happen really fast. But no, like, they get out of the car and take a piss, and then the shit starts, you know, kind of, you know, flying. It's how
many horror movies at this time? How many horror movies at this time too? Like, start the opening sequence with the main characters. There's not like a first person getting killed off. It's just them, and you know, shit happens, and like it's always them the whole movie. Like, yeah, so that's unique too. I want to talk a little bit about when we get down the drain pipe. You know, even then, it's like brother and sister, like the rats are coming, she drops him, and he's like, God, you know, thanks, like, you know, you ripped my shirt and all that stuff, and she's freaking out, and of course, he discovers the body that's still alive, and
that poor guy.
Yeah, you know, the whole chest, like, just sewed back together, and trying to say something, can't get it out, and you could see the fear in Justin Long's eyes, like, his face says everything. I mean, it's just awesome. But what did you guys think of like that sequence? And of course, you find, is it Danny and Darla that are hung up on the wall?
Oh yeah, the couple that went. They were talking about in the car.
Yeah,
they referenced that a couple went missing, and it was 78, which would have been 23 years prior to 2001.
Right, and it's like a legend, you know, that's passed around. Everybody says it's, you know, not true, is true, urban legend type thing. And but what did you think about that whole sequence and everything? Of like, 'cause that's the first time we were like, oh shit, like something like first this dude tried to run him off the road, and now this is what like he's discovering in all these bodies. Like, what the hell? Like, what did you guys think of that?
I thought it was effective.
Yeah, it's interesting because like at that point you still think like, oh, this is just a serial killer, you know, or just like a guy who's just pissed off, you know. And then that's the moment you realize like, oh, this is clearly something significant, like, and something that's been going on for a long time. You don't even, I guess, know. I mean, like, it's, and like the reveal of the bodies is really cool. Like, it's a cool shot. Like, yeah, like you kind of describe it as like the
see
Sistine
them
Chapel.
start to appear behind him, and then the camera pans back real slowly, and you start to make out what is actually on the wall behind him. Yeah.
Which it's an interesting choice too, that the bodies are like hollowed out and preserved in some kind of like shell or something, which makes them look kind of fake, right? But like it makes sense to the story the way that he's describing it. And so like when you first see him, you're like, all right, like clearly prosthetics, and then you're thinking like, hold on, if that's from '78, like how are they? And then like you can tell it's like a shell. Yeah. You know?
Well, it's interesting because if you're just like trying to explain the psychology of the monster, it's so he doesn't want to get caught. Like that's a good motivation, but also like it probably doesn't really care about getting caught because by the midway through the movie he's out just fucking up everything, and he's clearly has supernatural elements to him. So it's more like this monster. There's something he likes about the bodies too. Like there's an art, like there really is kind of like an art to, even though he's like eating them for organs so he can see or have his heart, be able to beat for 1,000 years or whatever it might be. Like there's still also, at some point along the way, this creature has decided that he also wants to create something with all the
he seems very proud of his
corpses.
100%. He calls it his House of Pain, another song reference too, which is kind of funny. But I do want to say too, when we were talking about it just a few minutes ago, the thought struck me, this movie is one where if you don't know anything about it, or if you haven't seen the trailer and you don't know what's going on before you watch it, I think it's even better. Like, if you know what I mean? Like, the first time I saw this movie, I had no idea who or what the creeper was until he's on top of the hood of their car. And you're like, holy shit, Like, and it's just one of those movies that, like, nowadays we don't get that hardly anymore. And, Allison, Josh, like, I'm sure you guys had already seen pictures of the creeper and kind of knew a little bit about it, but for you, so you didn't, which makes it even better, right? Like now that because you're kind of learning as they're learning the characters and everything else. And if you are interested in more of like the lore of the creeper, there's actually like a 5-set comic series of like 5 books that is like tied to like the history of like the origins of the creeper, and it's got like a kind of like, like Mayan lore. It comes from like, like the Mayan temples and stuff. So that if you're interested in it, check out, like, there's Jeepers Creepers comics. It's kind of cool. That gives you a little bit more about the character and where he came from and the history of him before, he starts running teenagers off the highway. So,
and one thing that I thought was very effective was the first half is in daylight.
Mm-hmm.
And they are on a rural country road, but it doesn't look scary.
No.
A lesser movie would have had them be in, a Deliverance style. Oh, everything. Oh my god.
We got a jump scare up in here.
I cannot with that.
And there goes Allison's mic.
You are fucking up my shit. Oh my god. Okay. Josh, you can cut that out right there.
Oh, that's going at the top. What are you talking about?
Take 2.
That's the clip for the beginning of the episode.
All right. Okay. She's leaving.
Reset.
But it is impressive to me to have that much tension, and it's not, I mean, there are roads that look like you could leave Lexington right now and drive towards Winchester, and that's what the road, there's open
Midway
fields. It's, there's some trees, and it's very empty, but it doesn't feel scary in and of itself. So when that truck, I think the truck is also very effective.
Yes, very effective.
And it's such an interesting dichotomy, because I was very stressed out that whole time with the truck swerving, and they're swerving, and Justin Long's like, just go around. And I'm like, clearly it's not working, but he's doing this on purpose, man.
Yeah. Yeah. The truck is pretty unique. It's one because it's like unidentifiable, right? Like it feels like it's he's built this truck himself, like with just scrap parts.
And even you can see it creeping, pun
creeping,
intended.
yeah.
they're having their conversation, and in the background you can see it coming up, and you start to have that tension because
it's just a long shot too. It's like for a full minute and a half that this truck's just coming on the screen.
They don't know that it's coming, but you can see it coming.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So all right, after this we've got Giselle calling the diner and playing the song Jeepers Creepers for Derry and letting him know that if you hear that song, run. That just means bad news for you and your sister. It's a warning. Like, get the hell out of Dodge if you hear this song. And of course, the creeper ends up sniffing Derry's underwear and leaving fingerprints on the door handle. And we still don't know that he's not human yet. So when the fingerprints start to like disappear, and he's like, "You can take prints off of that, right?" And he's like, "Look like somebody did." And we find out it's dead skin. And one of my favorite lines in the entire movie comes after that. "Hold on, dispatch, the sky is falling." Which is obviously when the police officers are beheaded, and we then have the tongue-eating sequence.
I love the framing of the shot against the billboard. What does it say? Something tastes so good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In the moonlight too, with like the silhouette. It's pretty awesome.
Shot.
And even here, we see like the little like white hair and stuff. We still don't really like see what he looks like yet. Like we're getting closer, but we're not there yet. Then we, which of course, like I said, Giselle had the first thing she asked on the phone is, have you seen the cats yet? And the next big piece in this film is the cat lady, which
this is my future.
I was gonna say, I figured like you two being cat people, this might be your favorite part of the film. What did you guys think of the cat lady?
No, actually, I got very upset because one, I was like, I hope he didn't kill any of those cats. Two, who is going to feed those cats now that she's dead?
They're feral. They can go out in
They'll probably feast on the body, what's left of it.
Oh my
but
gosh, that's morbid.
I did like the implication that this woman knew that this thing was out there, like kind of, or like she, or at least had reasons to fear for something like this. Like it was kind of interesting. Like it's like, which kind of gives back to like I think there's at least some people in this town who are very aware of this creature, and she would be old enough to have seen it come through a couple times.
Are they aware, or is she crazy? That's kind of the.
See, like I never. It's weird that you have that vibe, Josh, because like. And maybe it's just from watching it from like innocent eyes as a 10-year-old when I saw it. I never thought that anybody in this town knew of this thing other than Giselle. Like I always kind of felt like people thought it was just a human dude or whatever until it's too late. Or she's more worried about like police coming on her property and she doesn't like trespassers. And like, I don't think she gives a shit about Derry and Trish at all. And I don't think she's even weary of this creeper thing. I think that she just sees a black figure on her property dressed up like a scarecrow. These kids have the shit scared out of them, and she knows something's not right, but I don't think she's like aware of what it is. And it's odd that you have that view. Allison, did you like? So how did you think? Did you think that most people knew in the town what's kind of going on?
In the diner, at first I did, but then, like I said, when they have such weird reactions, I was like, okay, maybe they don't, and clearly the police don't. But I did think the cat lady, I wondered because of how hesitant she was, and aside from, they told me I can't own this many cats. I'm like, oh, they probably don't give a fuck how many cats you have, lady. You live out here in the middle of nowhere.
She said, how many cats do you have? More than a couple.
And then he's like, in the background.
Like 85 of them.
Her reactions are, I think you could take it either way. And to Josh's point, she is clearly pretty old, and she's probably seen a couple of cycles of this, and maybe she doesn't know what it is.
But she knows something in town's not right.
But knows that something's not right.
Yeah, that's more what I kind of get from it is like, yeah, she maybe doesn't know like exactly what is happening, but she's aware of like maybe this time of year is every 23 years. It seems like, or at least the last 3 times that she's went through this cycle. Suddenly, I mean, because she's pretty old. She's probably in her 70s at least. So
she's got another iconic voice too. Like, you got about 10 seconds. I don't know. Like, she's just awesome. And she's vulgar too. Like, I love it.
Yeah, it's too bad that she had to die. I liked her.
Yeah, she was pretty awesome. But yeah, I guess for me, I do kind of catch a small undertone that like the people in this area know that people go missing, and that's about like the extent, right? I think like people in the town Derry, Justin Long's character's name is Derry. God, dude, Victor Salva, you're ripping people off. Okay. But the people in the town Derry are a lot more aware of Pennywise than like what I think these people are of the Creeper.
But people in Derry, aside from those in the know, like the kids, just know that bad shit happens,
and they avoid it. Like, they know something's at play, but they don't want to deal with it.
Specifically about Pennywise or the turtle or any of the kind of supernatural reasons behind what happens there. They just know that like this town has bad vibes.
Right. So obviously after he kills the cat lady and they run back in the car, he ends up on the hood of the car, and that's when we finally get like our big reveal, and it's like, holy shit, what is that thing? Of course, homeboy should have entered the NFL Combine, because like being able to like jump over a car
is doing
and
so many back layouts.
He's running in the air over the top of the car. That was wild though. Like I really enjoyed that whole part of it. And of course she then runs over him about 17 times.
Which is really funny.
It was a laugh out loud. She hits him and then they stop. And as soon as she threw it in reverse and backed up, I started laughing. So I was like, yes.
Absolutely.
Again, it's like the thing that
smart.
you want everybody to do.
Make them do. Yeah.
That's another horror trope. In a lesser movie, they would have hit it once and be like, I think we got it. And then, driven off. But
she's fucking just, like, turns his whole arm and leg into damn tar.
Justin Long had to stop her. He's like, okay, enough.
It was not enough, clearly.
It's not enough.
It was not enough.
Should've got
I love the reveal of the wing.
Yeah, I was going to say, the bat wing, you're like, holy shit, now we've got bat wings. Like, what the fuck is this thing,
And
right?
I don't know if you all have watched... So Mike Flanagan, he is a director, did The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass.
He's also doing the new Scarlett Joe Exorcist, and I cannot wait.
Yes, can't wait. But Midnight Mass is a vampire story, and it's my favorite of all the series he's done on Netflix. But the design of this creature, not necessarily the face, but the wings and the build, is very... I wonder if Midnight Mass took some of the design for this for their vampires.
That's kind of how I felt about Underworld Evolution. No, seriously, like the main vampire that's kind of hunting Celine and them has got bat wings and stuff too. He's somewhat, creeper-esque as well. But then we move to probably, it's weird that you guys say that, the beginning of the film is very strong for you and probably your favorite part of it. This, while I tend to agree, like this police station sequence, like when the lights go out and they lose power, all of this, to me, is like some of the best 20 minutes of a horror movie I've ever seen, with the rifles and just the flashlights, and you can hear the knocking against the jail cell wall, and you got the two inmates that are terrified as they're like watching a man being eaten alive in front of them, and like you can see it in their face, and then the slow pan over to the foot tapping the bars, and like then you've got the guy on the walkie-talkie, and he's like, holy shit, this guy just crawled up the fucking wall, and he's like, you're not making any sense. Like, all of that, how is that not like some of the most amazing like horror sequence you've ever seen? I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I thought it was all pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more just the overall shift to a supernatural
lost
entity
you
when the first half, I thought it was basically just, a really efficient cannibal.
Fair.
And I don't know. I think I was expecting it to be human, and maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
I can't really put my finger on it. I just felt like I didn't want it to go this direction, which is maybe less of a comment on the movie and more of a comment on expectations from me, which is not a good measure of
that's fair.
Whether a movie's good or bad. But
no,
well,
that's
and
fair.
I knew that he's a supernatural creature, but I still felt the same way in terms of, I was really into the movie that it was leading up to that. And I don't know if it's just because they spend so much time at the police station at the end, or if it's because I'm just, again, kind of tired of Giselle and some of the interactions, and just still the police are just still for a minute just so
incompetent,
don't care about what's happening. Oh, you get away, kooks. And
you don't think that's how they would have reacted in a small town like that?
Probably, yeah, probably. But I don't know. I feel like maybe it just moves too slow. It just there's because the movie's 95 minutes or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the runtime, but I mean, I think you probably could have sped. I don't know. For me, it probably could have been a little even that. Some of that stuff could have been sped up, and I guess
right.
I just by the time that we get there, I'm less into to me it almost becomes less. It feels like less of a horror movie, even though there are cool shots the reveal of the creature, the creeper eating people in the jail cell is really cool.
The shot through the guy's open
heart with the
chest.
flashlight going through is really cool.
But it doesn't. It's less horror and more action by that point.
It does feel a little bit like Assault on Precinct 13 a little bit.
I think that was it. I felt so much tension throughout the first half, and even though you should be scared by the scene in the police station, I just didn't feel as scared or as tense as the first half of the movie.
I get that. Yeah, it is more of it stops becoming a fear and a dread and more of a are they going to get away?
Fight for your
How
life,
are they going to get away? Yeah. So I get that. I do really like, Derry and Trish in the interrogation room with Giselle and finding out which one of us is screaming while Jeepers Creepers plays in the dark. And you get the vibe that it's Trish. At least when I watched it the original time, my first thought is when she kind of turns to Trish, you're like, oh shit, the sister is about to get taken. So that, and then of course the creeper's on the other side of the glass, smelling them and all of that. And then he kind of breaks.
I did like that because it's a one-way mirror and she's
yeah.
staring very closely to the mirror and he's licking the glass on the other side and following her movements.
Yeah. So again, you think it's Trish, right? And then, he gets in the room, the cops bust in, and he now has Derry, and he is in his full creeper form, Super Saiyan creeper, if you will, with the antennas and the screech and the eyes, and legitimately just some terrifying visuals here.
What's the dinosaur that gets Newton?
That's my favorite one. It's the Dilophosaurus.
The Dilophosaurus, where it's
yeah. Yes, exactly. But I mean, that is just an iconic visual and the stuff nightmares are made out of. And so, I love that part. Of course, you have this final negotiation tactic between him and Trish, and Trish is saying, look, I'm stronger than Derry. You want me. I have the same heart, the same blood, everything. Take me, leave Derry, and he's telling her don't be a hero, and you can tell the creeper is seriously considering
weighing it.
Yeah. He
I
really
will
is.
Say, again, I'm not a horror expert, but from everything I've seen for that period, for that time when this came out, 2001, that's a fairly unique choice to try to
98% of the movies it would have been the sister, and it wouldn't have been a bargain. She'd have just been gone, and he'd have been screaming, "No, I'll get you, you motherfucker!"
Or they would have caught him,
Yeah.
or they would unmasked him and Like, oh, it was Giselle the whole time. Like,
what is this, a Scooby-Doo movie, bro? She said, I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling police officers. Oh, that's funny.
I did wonder, because the movie does allude to Trish being in an abusive relationship, if maybe there was something, they comment on, oh, I can smell your fear, and he must smell the best because he's more afraid, and maybe that's sort of a comment on she's been through some real shit and she's standing up to him. Mm-hmm. And she's probably been on the receiving end of some terrible things, so she's less afraid because she's faced those, even though she's trying desperately to get the creature to take her, and Justin Long is just terrified the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally frozen by fear in multiple sequences in this movie. Like, at one point when they're in the car and he had just gotten out of the tunnel, or, and he's just staring off into the window, and she's like, spit it out, Brat, like, you're scaring me, like, talk. So, yeah, he's, so he flies off with Derry into the moonlight and takes him to his new house of pain, which is like a warehouse of an industrial plant, and we get the final scene, which is Jeepers Creepers playing in the background. You can hear Derry screaming just as Giselle had dreamed, and there's a naked Justin Long with no eyes, and the Creepers pokes his eye right behind him.
It's not just no eyes. He has been opened up and hollowed out, so you can see through the former eye holes directly.
Yeah, there's no back half to him. Mm-hmm. I mean, just an amazing ending to this movie. And the crazy thing about it is, did you guys know that the end of this film, obviously, like, if you pay attention, Jonathan Breck, is that his name, right? That plays the Creeper. Yeah, Jonathan Breck plays the Creeper. At the end of this movie, and they zoom in on the Creeper's eyes multiple times. They're very bright blue, like a pretty eye. And at the end of the movie, it's Justin Long's eyes. And they're brown. And Jonathan Breck was supposed to be in full Creeper makeup and everything and do the sequence. But the contacts that they had for him just were not working. They were like causing him some severe like eye irritation. He couldn't see. They made him feel like he was blind. So they actually put Justin Long in the Creeper makeup, and those are Justin Long's real eyes, and it's very effective. I think it actually works better in this scene than if they were to just put brown contacts on him for some reason. I don't know why, but it just feels real.
That is interesting, because I understand, I guess now, why part of the reason you wouldn't do anything extra but the entire time, the thing about the creature that I didn't like was that he had human eyes. It didn't seem to fit with the rest of the makeup, but it makes sense if you think that, yes,
he's eating human eyes, and
he's taking parts from people, that it would look human or humanoid. But
I could definitely see an altered film version of this where, like, the Creeper has, like, yellow reptilian style contacts, that make it creepier. But I think that, like, I think the eyes are a really good part of this film to, they're human eyes, and he's human, but he's not human. But, like, it's just the multiple shots of the eyes and everything is also a very good foreshadow to the end of the movie, because you're not really realizing, like, what's he gonna eat of Derry, and your eyes are not what you're thinking, and then that's what you get. So, but yeah, just an awesome ending to the movie. I know that you guys had already said, like, it's a brave choice and decision there. So, is there anything else that you guys want to discuss or say about this movie?
The mid-credit scene? Did you watch it?
The mid-credit scene.
Or in credits? I don't remember if it's mid-credit or in. It's really fast. It's literally just the truck driving back. It's like dusk, or like dawn of another day, kind of like.
Really? See, I've never watched that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably at the end credits. Yeah, it's really fast. It's literally like the truck just driving, kind of, against the sun. I guess the sunrise, probably.
All right, he's hidden, and you get a Creeper monologue where he's like, "I live my life a quarter mile at a time." He's in Mexico with Dom Toretto.
I live my life one leg at a time.
Oh man. Oh great. Okay, so yeah, that pretty much wraps up the movie. Anything else that you guys want to say about it though before we get to the bonus feature?
No, I like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. I do think it's still pretty good. I think it's very solid.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my train of thought. I appreciate that it's just 90 minutes, but I'm impressed at, again, the way he manages to create these very lived-in characters in such a short amount of. It's very efficient storytelling, I think, and it all works.
Yeah, it doesn't hang around in a way. Even though, again, I could have it peters out for me a bit. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and it doesn't do too much. Try to do too much because even like in like really good horror movies, that are made with because horror is such an interesting genre because it goes a lot of places. You have different variations, psychological, I would call this a slasher. I guess it's probably the closest. I mean, it's still not. It doesn't fit a lot of the tropes, but it's it's a slasher, I would get, or a creature. I don't know, but
it's like a mix of both.
But so much of that stuff can get bogged down in the tropes and or trying to rail against them purposely, but ended up doing something stupid because of it. And this just really, I think you can tell that the person who made it was inspired by good stuff and actually took that to heart. Like it is a good, I don't remember reading the reviews of it. I'm sure it was panned, if I had to guess, just because that's the nature of horror a lot of times, especially at that time. And I don't think it would have been deserved. Like in hindsight, like it's hard to put yourself in the contemporary times, like people, because again, you're still affected by Scream. Like people love that so much and kind of how it reinvented things. So I could see people kind of hating that this is, kind of going back to, a little bit more of what horror was for a long time. But I think it does so while really feeling like a really distinct, well-made movie.
And it doesn't rely on jump scare after jump scare. There
No.
are a few what I would consider jump scares, but they're few and far between, and he really uses the story and framing of the camera to create that tension. One of my complaints about a lot of, maybe not necessarily modern horror movies now, but just a lot of horror movies that I've watched is they are so reliant on just someone jumping up and screaming, or you turn
loud
down,
noises,
and that to me is not scary. It's like my friend Hillary says, she's like, I can't watch horror movies because I'm so scared. She's like, one time I went to the movie theater with my sister, and I'd like inadvertently just reached out and punched her. Like, whatever she was watching just shocked her so much.
She was the cat, and her sister was your mic.
Yeah.
So
she did like a wrestler from the top of the ropes from the stand directly to the
just
mic.
attacked it. That's great. Yeah, I mean, I love this movie. It is one of my favorite horror movies, that I've seen in the last, 30 years. Like it stands out. I think it's, as far as intellectual property and original concept, is one of the most creative horror movies in a really long time. I think it's very well done, especially on a small budget. You get amazing performances from, low budget actors who we didn't know at the time, and even some that, obviously, like I said, it kicks off Justin Long's career as like more of a leading role. And also like Gina Phillips, even though she didn't do much other than this movie that's really of note, she's awesome in this movie. And it's one of those ones too that like I was really excited to share with my daughter, because like don't get me wrong, she likes watching slashers and stuff with me, and I took her to see Scream 7 and she loved it, but I like when I can show her something that's more out of the box, not normal, a little bit more forward thinking, different than the rest of the genre type stuff. And she really enjoyed this movie. I'm sure we'll end up watching the sequel probably in the next couple weeks. So, but does this movie, Allison, make you want to watch the sequel? Like, would you be willing to watch Jeepers Creepers 2? Because here's the thing about this too, is that like, while Josh, you were talking about the reviews being bad, right? Or probably mixed or panned because, yeah, and I do believe like I know I didn't throw it into the notes because I didn't think it really mattered, but I do think that like the Rotten Tomatoes score is probably like in the 50 percentile because horror is very polarizing and whatnot. But I think like 95% of the people that I talk to that have seen these movies, and when you start talking about horror, they all seem to, like, everybody I come across that I can think of all says like, yeah, man, Jeepers Creepers was pretty solid, or I really liked it, really enjoyed it. And then they, like, the first thing that they really say is like, man, like, what the fuck happened with 3 and 4? Like, it's kind of one of those things where like the first 2 movies are held in pretty high regard amongst most of the horror community. So, but yeah, Allison, the sequel, would you be interested in watching the second film?
I will tell you that if I had not read about Victor Salva after, I would be way more. Let me put it this way: I did pay to rent this because it wasn't on my friend's Plex and it wasn't streaming on any of the services I'm subscribed to. So I paid $3 or $4 to Fandango at home. If I was to watch the sequel, I'd wait till it was streaming somewhere. I'm not going to pay extra for it because I do not want to give that man any more of my money.
Go find a DVD at Half Price Books or something. Or
yeah, I understand that. I do think you would like the sequel. Josh, do you think that she would dig the sequel?
Yeah, I mean, from what I remember about it, because it is I mean, again, I've not rewatched it. I was probably in middle school or high school the last time I watched it, but I remembered it. I mean, it was a very impressionable movie from my youth.
It might have more memorable like sequences to it than the first film, honestly. Like
the bus thing is the thing that
all of the bus stuff.
Now, really, I mean, I will say to sour you on it even further, it does center around on a child, like pretty early on, and so
and half naked teenage boys.
Yeah, which yeah. So just to kind of we brought up the review stuff. It has a 47% critic score so 116 reviews, and this is the one that kind of surprised me. It's the audience just as polarizing with audience is 49% on the popcorn meter.
That's
for
crazy.
User ratings. I do kind of wonder if this is a thing that plays better with people who didn't grow up with like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I get people that our age, like this is really the only thing we have that like it was ours in that space. You know what I mean? Like because like Valentine obviously didn't turn into a franchise, unfortunately.
It should have. Stop shitting on it, Allison. It's a great movie.
You were talking earlier about horror movies where you're like, please kill these characters now. That was one of those movies for me. Like,
God, just kill Katherine Heigl already. Fuck.
Kill these bitches, please.
Scream. I mean, guess Scream arguably, but like I think we were like too young probably for Scream.
Yeah, we were 5.
Like, like this would have been like
me.
the one because even though R rating, but
I was
like
in high school.
like Allison
was
would
the
like
perfect
for
age.
Scream is that's you. Like what this was for us, and we weren't even high school then. But yeah.
And I think Scream is a better movie than this.
Absolutely.
But
I also wonder if, I mean, I grew up in a time before cell phones existed to the broader public. And one thing I meant to bring up is they try to call for help and they have the oldest cell phone in the world, and of course it's dead. And I was like, this wouldn't have happened if they had that special edition Jurassic Park that held a charge for 6 months or however long.
Oh man, yep.
These are special phones. They're limited edition phones. So these phones will actually be collector's items. Please don't recycle these phones. If I was you, I'd keep them.
I don't know. Does Gen Z watch this and find it annoying, or they find it annoying?
I wonder about
because
that
of the
a lot.
lack of. I mean, that goes for any older movie. Obviously, that would go for Scream, the original Scream too. But is it harder to enjoy a movie that's set before certain technologies because
Yeah. They're probably like, why didn't she just hook the cell phone up to her car charger?
Yeah.
Because I don't know, that car was made in
Unless she
1956.
says, oh, you didn't bring a charger? Well, I have a cigarette lighter that doesn't work. I was like, oh yeah, the old cigarette lighter charger.
I wonder about that sometimes, and I give them a little bit more benefit of the doubt because I think I don't know, at least from what I read about the younger generations, that I think they have increasingly are having more of a fascination with life before constant connection to the internet, and it makes me almost think like movies like this where, because I think that's an interesting, getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but that'll be an interesting thing, I think, especially to talk about next week, because like that movie is very rooted in some old tech, but it has like ideas that are very pertinent to this conversation too, in terms of like younger generations and what that means in terms of being connected to that technology. So
Sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun to see how someone like that grew up with, that's 14 would respond to this movie.
Yeah. Okay. Without getting too much more into it before we get to the bonus feature. Okay. I have a question for you guys because like I'm torn on it. Obviously, I would like to have more Jeepers Creepers movies, but like I don't obviously want Victor Salva attached to them, and it's odd in the sense that like one, he made the first two and they're very good. He also made the third movie, which is one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen. I mean, it is fucking terrible. The third movie is god awful, and the fourth movie is even worse. They are two of probably the worst 5 horror movies I've ever watched.
Pretty bad average right there.
They're bad. They're really bad. And so like my thing is like I would love to see a reboot or a new take on it, something fresh, something different. Bring back Jonathan Breck as the creeper and do it. But like I don't want Victor Salva attached to it, obviously for multiple reasons. But he also has a grip on this. Like he's not gonna let this franchise go. And if he were, it would be probably for a lot of money. Like Jason Blum would have to throw a shit ton of money at him, and I don't want Victor Salva to get any money for this. Like, so like it's torn. You know what I mean? So like I don't know. I just kind of what do you guys think about like that subject and kind of how that stands with
Honestly,
how we get into
that's a pretty
his
easy
crimes.
no for me because I get tired of. I'm not someone who loves sequels and sequels and sequels and sequels to an original horror movie that did something so well. I just think they generate. Sometimes there'll be one thrown in there that's really good, but it's more just diminishing returns. And I'd rather someone spend their time and effort coming up with a different way to tell a story within a more original idea or character.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'd rather see like, obviously, yeah, even just ignoring Victor Salva, like I would, given how the franchise has progressed, it sounds like it's probably better just to let it go away. And if someone will be dead by the time this happens, but when the character's in the public domain and Victor Salva can't profit from it, but sure, 100 years from now, go for it. Like do something cool. Let the aliens watch Jeepers Creepers the return or
That's my cousin Leon. That's my cousin Leon.
But yeah, and then like just the fact that any way for that to happen, even if the movie was excellent, like there's no way for it to happen without this person benefiting from it significantly.
Unless he passes away, from heart attack or whatever. I'm not wishing.
Yeah, I wonder what would happen. I mean, like obviously the IP would be, but like even like
because he doesn't have like a connection to a family that you know what I mean. So I don't know who would get the rights to his stuff.
In theory, I mean, he has an estate. Like that would be
yeah.
And again, like after that, it's like okay, whatever. It's his estate. Like he's not.
He goes to Francis Ford Coppola.
Well, shit.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, somehow. Yeah, he'll be alive.
I was going to make a very
so.
tasteless joke that I am not going to make on recording. I'll have to tell y'all later.
I can't wait to hear it. Okay, all right. Let's get into what we've been tiptoeing around here. We're going to talk about the special features. So, Josh, I'm going to pause here for a second, give you a little, take a deep breath, and then we'll get into it.
Do, 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 do. Our happy music.
All right. Okay. All right, guys. This is our bonus feature. I've titled it "The History and Crimes of Victor Salva." Today's bonus feature is it's going to take a much darker and serious approach to this portion of the episode, but it's a conversation that I feel like needs to be had. Like, you really should not talk about this movie without the context of who created it and what they are and who they are and everything that surrounds this movie and Victor Salva. So,
I would just add that if you are someone who does not want to hear about
I was getting ready to get there,
or sexual assault, especially
children,
this is your trigger warning, and you might want to skip this.
Yeah. Go skip you just go ahead and skip to next week's episode.
Yeah. So this conversation is going to be about sexual crimes committed against children. So if that's a trigger for you and something you decide not to listen to, I totally understand, but I think it's, something that we need to talk about when talking about this movie 25 years later, because not only are these crimes heinous and, just awful in general, they happened before this movie was made. So essentially this movie probably should have never been fucking made.
Yeah.
But it is, and we got to talk about it. So without further ado, let's get into it. I've attached some links in the show notes to a few things that gave me most of the information that I'm going to be using when talking about Victor Salva and his crimes. So if you want more info, you can feel free to do your own research or check out the links in the show notes. But here we go. Victor Salva was born in 1958, just 20 miles outside of San Francisco. His father left him and his mother at an early age. His mother was only 18 at the time. It was almost immediately after Victor was born. At the age of 4, Salva now has a stepfather who is a Catholic that Salva claims has, saved his family from poverty. But Salva also says that his stepfather is a violent drunk that beats on him. So Victor Salva's only escape from his abuse was his love for movies. In particular, the Universal monster films. His favorite horror movie / Universal monster is none other than The Creature of the Black Lagoon, which, again, I think you can look at the creeper and say he's somewhat heavily inspired by the look of The Creature of the Black Lagoon. It's funny. I actually thought that the creeper looked like The Creature of the Black Lagoon before I knew this. So when I found this out, it just kind of reaffirmed, like, it makes sense. That's why it looks that way, right? But other than being a massive fan of The Creature of the Black Lagoon and the other Universal monster films, Victor also loved Spielberg's movie Jaws. At the age of 17, his local newspaper wrote an article about how he had gone to see the Spielberg classic a whopping 55 times while it was in theaters. Obsessed much? That's absurd.
I can't imagine as much as I watched the last Power Rangers movie 5 times and thought that was a lot. So.
I mean, you got to think, like, okay, that's if he was doing that as like a job, like a Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, that's 11 weeks of seeing that movie. Like, that's absurd. Okay, so while he's in high school, Victor's got a teacher that strongly encourages him to make movies. His English teacher would excuse him from regular classroom activities if Victor would just write a short story and read it in front of the class. So, like, hey, remember that, 10-page double-spaced letter I wanted to, story I wanted you to write and do all this and get graded on? You don't have to do any of that if you just write us a short story once a week and, I don't care about anything else that you do in this classroom. Which is kind of wild. I wish kind of class was like that when I was a kid. But, yeah. So that teacher is also the same one who persuaded him to get a camera and film one of these stories. So Salva is, in high school, basically writing these short stories and then turning them into short films. By the time he graduates at the age of 18, he's made 20 short films already. And while he's 18, he also comes out of the closet as gay, and his family disowns him for going against their Catholic beliefs. So he's kind of on his own at this point. Then in 1986, I guess before we even get to that, before Victor, makes something in the basement and becomes kind of a world-renowned, somewhat success on the independent scene, he's working two jobs. While he's working these two jobs, he is using the money that he's making from both of these jobs to help fund his filmmaking habit, because he's making these short movies and in hopes of getting into these competitions and festivals, right, for short films and stuff. The disturbing thing about this is that at this time, while he's doing this, one of his full-time job is in childcare. So God only knows what's going on while this is all happening. So in 1986, Victor's short film, Something in the Basement, wins first place in the Sony AFI home video competition. I really wanted to check this movie out. Was hoping I could find it on YouTube. I cannot find this short film anywhere. It seems to be like a 20 to 30 minute story. But I had a hard time finding it. It's probably one of those ones that you'd have to really, really dig for somewhere to get it. I just couldn't find it. But Something in the Basement is an extremely important film, not only because it catches the eye of one Francis Ford Coppola, but also the star of the movie is Nathan Forrest Winters. Nathan is the child who becomes the star of Salva's Hollywood debut film, Clown House, which also has Sam Rockwell in it. So Clown House is the most important film. And the reason why this film is important is because this is the film that Francis Ford Coppola, after watching Something in the Basement, decides, I'm going to take Victor Salva under my wing, and I'm going to help fund his first movie, Clown House. And Clown House ends up being filmed on location at Francis Ford Coppola's house. Coppola is on set the majority of the time. He also gave Salva the cameras, the exact same cameras that George Lucas used for American Graffiti. He gave to Salva to film this movie, Clown House, with.
And this is, I just want to interject for a second. So this is through also Coppola's production company, American Zoetrope, or America Zoetrope, I think is what it's called. It's still around. It's his kids now own it, but he and George Lucas founded that company. I don't know how much George Lucas was connected to that company at the time, because he had this little Star Wars thing that kind of
I think he kind of ventured off to do his own Lucasfilm stuff at that time.
But he did help found that company. But I think Coppola's kind of the one that took it over.
Yeah. So getting back to Clown House and why it is so important is because obviously it's Salva's first film. It's his first big film. It's a big release and everything. And again, Nathan Forrest Winters is the child star in this movie, who was in the original short story film that made Salva somewhat, catch the eye of Coppola. And unfortunately, sadly, Nathan Forrest Winters is the child that Victor Salva is convicted of sexually abusing. Forrest Winters, there's a link where he talks about kind of how he's being groomed by Salva. Apparently he had known Salva at the age of 6 or 7 and was, I guess, doing other short films with him. Maybe it might have been Something in the Basement. I'm not sure how old he was when that movie was made. But he talks about Salva putting him in a loincloth like Mowgli and fondling him in the loincloth while he's tying the loincloth, basically in front of people, and nobody's catching that, Salva's doing that. And he goes into more detail in that link if you look at it about how it progresses and his feelings on the matter and everything. It's about a 2-minute clip. I'm sure you could find a lot more about it, but I thought that was good enough, right, to touch on. So, but yeah, after this movie is released, a lot of people on the set are telling, Nathan Forrest Winter's family and stuff that the relationship with Victor and Nathan is not normal. They're, he's sitting on his lap. It's a little bit more playful and inappropriate than it should be. And the mom is quoted in asking Nathan, like, hey, is anything going on? Like, do I need to be worried about this? And Nathan's like, no, Victor's like just a friend and everything else. And like, so she kind of lets it go and doesn't think much more of it. But eventually it catches up to him, and the police, I don't know exactly how they, get into Salva's house and with the Warren and how all that comes about. But long story short, they do search Victor Salva's house. They find a recorded video of Salva receiving oral sex from Nathan Forrest Winter, with an allotment of child pornography that Salva was buying on the black market. Victor Salva is sentenced to only 3 years for his crimes.
The beyond, like, obviously, fuck this guy, fuck what he was doing, but also, what the fuck? Like,
yeah. The fucking justice system, bro.
This was 1988, correct? Or was it 89?
It's, yeah, I believe it's 88, 89. I think he's arrested in 88 and tried in 89. It's like around that time. But yeah, so not only like does he have sex tapes of him in the act with a 12-year-old boy, there's multiple child pornography, and God only knows if there's any more victims and evidence that they found. He gets 3 fucking years because he pled guilty. He pled guilty, and so they give him 3 years, and he has to obviously be a registered sex offender for the rest of his life. Even worse than 3 years, even worse than the sentence, is the fact that Salva only spends 15 months in prison.
I will never understand that shit.
It's so appalling.
Yeah.
15 months.
It's like you couldn't even make the dude go the whole 3 years. Like that's like there's a lot of problems with prison, and like there's arguments out there like people, like we should only like prison, like whatever you think about prison, like, but if you're going to convict somebody and give them an insanely short sentence for something as bad as raping a kid, then just to say, oh well, you didn't even get half. He didn't even fucking serve halfway,
Yeah.
Like,
no,
it's just
not even half of the sentence.
I don't understand it.
And he's quoted as basically saying, like, obviously, like, in prison, they know what you're in there for, and it's a terrifying experience, and thinking every day that he's probably gonna either be raped or killed in prison. And obviously he wasn't killed. Who knows if he's raped? But I can assure you that whatever happened while he was in prison does not justify what he did to that poor child, and it never will. And it's not fair. It's not right. It is not okay.
And not just the kid he was convicted of, but also like who knows
what
he has done. I want to
hammer home. I want to hammer home. This man fucking worked in childcare before he's filming these movies.
He was buying, kiddie porn. Who knows what he was distributing? Behind, and that might be the best case scenario. He could have, who knows what was happening in these situations.
Yeah. So, just fucking awful.
Well, it's about to get worse. Bring in Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah. Well, let's get to that. Okay, so obviously, again, Salva has a really tight bond with Francis Ford Coppola. He's his protege. They're friends. Coppola is like almost looking at him somewhat as like a little brother or a son, if you will. And Coppola is supporting Salva all the way through this. And he tells Salva that, going to prison is not that bad. Like, it's going to have value for you. He uses the words, going to prison will have value for you, and it will make you a better artist. Fuck you, Francis Ford Coppola.
I can't believe that would be
the way he frames that.
The way that you would frame that, and not,
I'm sorry.
You have committed a really terrible crime, and prison is the place where you go to suffer the consequences and maybe somehow get help or ruminate on what you've done and understand why it's wrong. But no, use this to fuel your art.
Yeah, use it to be creative. I misquoted Coppola. That's not exactly what he said. What he exactly told Victor Salva was, going to prison will make you a better artist, ... if you survive. That's what he told him. God, dude. The fuck. He literally said, if you survive. So, yeah. Okay. So, after Salva gets out of prison, after serving his 15-month sentence, Coppola is on the Victor Salva train. He takes him under his wing, and he's trying to help Victor Salva get back on feet. He's giving Victor Salva money to live on while Victor Salva is writing scripts and pretending to be a mailman and dropping these scripts off at Hollywood studios. And obviously, I would be surprised if he didn't use like a pseudonym, but I don't believe that he did, because he still claims that a lot of those screenings never got picked up. Screenplays never got picked up because he was attached to it, right? As soon as somebody saw Victor Salva, they're not touching it. Or at least that's kind of how we felt. But Coppola is out there like constantly pitching for Salva to be back into the film-making industry. As soon as a movie comes up, it's like every pitch from Coppola is, who'd be a great director for this? I got a guy. His name's Victor Salva, and he's perfect to make this movie. Coppola is where is it at here? Hold on. Yeah. Coppola is in a LA Times article, which is also attached in the notes here, basically saying that, he felt that Victor had paid his debts to society after a 15-month-long prison stint. And so this is what he's quoted in saying about people working against Victor Salva in the industry. Coppola says, someone had launched a campaign against Victor saying, how can you give this guy a movie to make? Some of the financing for his film fell through. One of the actors resigned when he learned about the case. So I helped Victor get the job. I was criticized for it, but my attitude is, he has a talent, and that talent in itself is good. We don't have to embrace the person and believing that their art is a contribution to society.
And okay, before we try to dissect that,
yeah,
I can be with him on because essentially what he's saying is, without saying it, is bad people can make good art. Like, that's like,
I agree.
Like, because
Sure.
I think we all think Jeepers Creepers was a good movie. Like, clearly someone awful made he was the visionary behind this really, movie we liked. And so, okay, I can buy that. What is really hard for me to wrap my head around is, you are fucking Francis Ford Coppola. How many fucking people have come up to you with a short film, an independent film, and again, like, tons of them. Like, I'm sure he's helped hundreds of people get a leg up or get their foot in the door, or finance stuff for them. Why would you
risk it all for this?
Compelled to keep attaching yourself to this person after this has happened. That's the thing that's really hard for me to reconcile. Is you can make a mistake, and you can even say, I can even not support, but understand if you're if you want to come out and say he served his prison time, like, okay, the justice system decided that's what he should serve. He served it, and he deserves a second chance. If you want to say that, I don't really agree that he should just be handed a movie. But if you want to say that, okay. But why do you have to be the person that helps make that happen, given your stature and what you mean to this business? And it really is. And it's like, I knew about the Salva stuff going into this movie, but I did not know I did not know anything about the relationship with Coppola, and that he was like the guy that really, like, Coppola's the reason this movie gets made. Like,
yeah.
And so that's like really paints. I mean, obviously Victor Salva's did a terrible thing, but like Francis Ford Coppola's perpetuated it in a way, and that's really hard to.
It makes me think of him in a completely different light. Like he's really just as despicable as Victor Salva. He really is.
So he seems to be. Here's how I'm kind of thinking of this. I think we've talked a little bit about, you know, enjoying art made by people who have done terrible things or that we don't like or don't agree with their politics on. And for the most part, I can divorce the person from the art, but there are occasions like this one. I'm like, I will never rent Jeepers Creeper 2, like I said, because I don't want him to get any money. But I may watch it at some point if it presents itself for free. But, sorry, to get back to my point, he seems to think that Victor Salva is just this voice of a generation. And
he's not Quentin fucking Tarantino, bro.
We all need to just give this guy a chance because he's going to make such great contributions to society that we can overlook this really horrendous act that he did he was 29 years old and the kid was 12.
Which
we'll get into in a second.
Yeah, let me get to the next quote. Go ahead, though. I'll let you finish out.
But I'm kind of thinking, you know what? There are so many artists out there who have died before their time. Kurt Cobain, Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, whoever. And you're like, it's so unfortunate that we don't have more art from them. Why can't we just let this guy go? You know?
Yeah.
It's shit happens. Sometimes people don't get to have the career that they maybe should have or thought they were going to have. But why are you so putting like you said, Josh, putting your weight behind trying to make this guy a thing when there are other people out there that are definitely more deserving and easily just as talented?
Yeah, I mean, you probably could have slid him a little bit of money and bought this film off of him and chose somebody else to direct it and then paid him to even write the screenplay for 2. And at the time, he probably would have been like more willing to do that because he was in the situation that he was in. And you probably would have ended up like, oh, well, the guy who wrote the screenplay for this is not a good person, but, you know, he's not at the forefront. He's at the forefront of this movie because of all.
Yeah, it's not like he's even like again, like his involvement almost doesn't, or level of involvement doesn't. I won't say doesn't matter, but like, yeah, when you're the director, you're the person out there, you're the face of this movie. Like, if he was like the second second unit director or something, like, it's like if you were helping him get work as like someone down the line,
grip.
it's a different, a little bit different, but it's just really strange, especially like the way everything unfolds, because we haven't even gotten into like how he re-enters Hollywood, which is even fucking crazier, like in some ways, given, I'll let you talk about it, but
yeah.
Oh my God! Yes, Slate, please continue with
okay.
Oh my God.
All right. I do want to say that I too agree with being able to separate the art from the artist. I think Kanye West is a genius a lot of times when it comes to music. Some of his newer stuff I'm not a fan of, but like, I love Kanye's older stuff, and I will forever love it. I will forever listen to it. I think Kanye is kind of a terrible person, to be honest with you. But it doesn't change how the music makes me feel and the genius that he had in making, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and Graduation and College Dropout. And same thing, whether, I guess we'll never really know, but whether Michael Jackson actually did also molest little boys or not, you can feel how you want to feel about that. I still think his music and performances were amazing. Doesn't mean you have to support them. Doesn't mean you have to give those people your money. But I do think that, I'm very good at being able to enjoy the art for what it is while also being able to talk about that person as the type of human being that they are and taking that in context. And, when my daughter is old enough and we start talking about horror movies and Jeepers Creepers, I will thoroughly educate her on who Victor Salva is. And when I show her The Godfather when she gets older, and I show her Godfather Part 2, and we talk about how amazing that movie is, I'm going to fucking shit all over Francis Ford Coppola. Okay? Especially for this second quote that I have here from him. Because if the first quote sounded bad enough, right? Well, let's have Francis double down, shall we? When asked about if he knew about the sexual abuse that Salva was putting Nathan Forrest Winters through on the set of Clown House, again, this movie is being filmed on location at Coppola's fucking home. Okay? When he's asked about this, Francis had this to say. I didn't know of anything improper going on, although I witnessed some things that caused me to raise an eyebrow. Only in retrospect did things really add up. You have to remember, while this is a tragedy, that the difference in age between Victor and the boy was very small. Victor was practically a child himself.
What the fuckity fuck?
Salva was 29 and Nathan Forrest Winters was fucking 12.
I mean,
I'm sorry. 29, bro. Not a child.
Not a child, and not someone who. Again, you're the fucking producer on this movie, and you saw things that raised eyebrows. It's your money, bro.
You did fucking nothing. And if you think that people on the set are talking to his parents, like the child's parents, and saying, "Hey, this is inappropriate," you don't think they're fucking going to Francis Ford Coppola too?
Yeah, that doesn't get up, reach your ears like it had to have, and it speaks to the. I do think, I'm not like this big conspiratorial person, but it does speak to some of the stuff that people believe out there about Hollywood and certain segments of society where there's a lot of people that think this is just the kind of stuff that that's just what happens out there, or at least at that time. I mean, I think today it would be, again, I'm not going to sit here and say this isn't happening elsewhere at all, because I'm sure there's awful things happening today, but at this period of time, it's still a very much a society that's not connected like we are now, and you can't. It's harder to it's easier to document things, I should say. It was harder to, I think, probably at that time, and to just if you're Coppola, the only thing I can think is you're more worried about getting the movie finished than you are anything else, and that's just that's a great quality when you are making The Godfather and there's nothing awful happening on your set. And I don't know, there might have been awful things happening. I don't know what's going on in The Godfather. I've just pulled that out of, as a movie. But when you are clearly at least raising an eyebrow, if that's at least to take him at his word there, well, even that should be you should have had the care for another person to want to interject and try to tame things down and keep things from getting worse.
I think that not only like the worst part is not Coppola saying, well, I didn't know anything was going on, and acting like he didn't know anything was going on, and then saying, well, okay, like, he did kind of raise some eyebrows, but, you know, I didn't really put two and two together until after I found out that he was convicted and all of that. That sounds really bad, but honestly, the worst part of that entire quote is he is trying to justify raping a 12-year-old child.
And it's
How
not
do you do
even
that?
like, I'm not saying this would be right. It'd still be, if the kid was 17,
Yeah.
you know,
Still not right.
But he's 12.
He's
Yeah.
12.
I mean, he's totally a child.
Yeah, it's not like a kid like it would be bad if the kid was in high school, but it's still there is a difference, at least in your mind. Like, there's a difference in what a 17-year-old is and 12-year-old is, because that's just your life experiences. But like, it's still bad. It's bad either way. And for him to say 12, for him, like, what does it take in your head, you think, to actually speak the words 12 and 29 are close?
Yeah, they're close
Like-
in age. He's
like,
more
what
than
is-
double that kid's age.
What
He's
is
lived
so
that
cooked in
boy's
your
life
brain?
2.5 fucking times, sir.
What drugs have fucked up your brain to the point where that is a thing you say on the record to a reporter and don't think that you
Right.
should?
Right.
I mean,
He's a fucking disgusting, awful piece of shit human being. That's all there is to it. Like, plain and simple.
And I'm thinking about, okay, also, when you're 12, what does this kid, I'm sure he knows about sex or whatever, you know, that's the age when kids are really curious, but he is not equipped to handle that or to understand really what's even happening. This is just making me think. Again, I grew up in Eastern Kentucky, and I was in middle school, and we were 12, 6th grade, and a girl in my class, or no, we were 7th grade. A girl in my class got pregnant and then married a 29-year-old.
Jesus.
The same ages here. And her parents signed her away to this guy so they could get married. And at that time, we're all kind of like, ew, that's weird. Ew, that's so crazy. And then when you become an adult, you're like, oh, that's awful. That should have never happened. How could her parents have let that
They
happen?
belong in fucking jail.
They absolutely. It's and again, the perspective of being a kid and just being kind of like, that's weird and gross. No, it's more than weird and gross. It is really terrible.
Yeah. In the same article, Coppola is asked about, what he thinks about people who refuse to give Victor Salva a second chance as a filmmaker. And his response to this was, well, they're entitled to feel that way. But he has a real gift as a filmmaker, and the punishment has been completed, so he should be a citizen again. Just fucking eye roll.
You know what? And on that, I can buy. Okay, he served his time. Whatever. Like, that's what the justice, like, I can disagree with the justice system, but what I can't, you can let him go carve his own path. You don't have to help him. Like, that.
Yeah, let him find his own funding.
Again, yeah, the insinuation is he's so talented that we should just let that all go to the side. No, you should give him another chance just because
Right.
he's so talented, which is a thing that happens all too often in
Right.
society.
So, Victor's first major film after being released from prison, shockingly enough,
this is.
I remember seeing this movie.
I've never
is a-
seen it, but
is a fucking Disney movie. I'm laughing so
you
I don't
can't
cry.
write this fucking shit like in a script. Like,
yes, known child rapist, convicted pedophile, gets out of prison, and his first movie is a Disney movie that he wrote and directed. The film Powder comes out in 1995, and Nathan Forrest Winters is doing his best to put as much negative attention on this movie and Disney as it's being made, and while it's in theaters as well. He's like actively picketing it and doing as many, public release interviews and everything that he can to try to put some fire on Disney and get them to pull the movie and try to get people to not see it. And I believe it was like, I'm pretty sure Powder was like starting to get considered for some awards. I don't know if it actually was nominated for anything or if it won anything. I know, I'm pretty sure Roger Ebert thought it was a great movie. I remember seeing a lot of really good reviews for it. Anyways, Disney claims that by the time that they knew about Salva's crimes, the movie was too far along to be scrapped or to replace him as director.
You know what? I think in the mid-90s, before social media existed, before kind of the crazy culture we have today, they probably thought they could basically get by with not a lot of press on this. Hire a good publicist to try to kind of smooth things over.
Again, why don't you just buy the script and have somebody else do it?
Because he's a once-in-a-generation talent,
Yeah,
apparently.
he's
Somebody at Disney had to be really tight with Coppola, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting is, so I guess to be specific, it was through Hollywood Pictures, but these companies, it's a company owned by Disney, so it's a Disney
movie,
and it wasn't, it's a Disney movie in the sense of it's probably R-rated. I'm guessing it's a horror movie, so it's probably
Powder's not horror.
Is it not?
No, it's a.
I just assumed it was.
It's like a drama.
Yeah, it's about this
Powder's
guy who's albino and he has supernatural powers. And,
okay.
He's kind of like an outcast, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I bring up that though to just say what you were getting at, Allison, with the they almost assuredly thought we could, and it's possible I can even maybe not once it gets to the point of production, I don't think there's any way they couldn't have known, but I can see it getting to that point and it not coming up then, just because of the nature of that movie, the Clown House thing was pulled from home distribution. It was kind of off the radar. I can see it slipping through the cracks, this guy, because again, it wasn't now where something like this would get wildly reported in a big sense, but still, people you're out there, you're in the business, you should know, that's part of your job is knowing that the fucking director is a child molester.
Yeah.
you probably ought to know that.
Yeah, we didn't do a background search on him at all before we hired him.
Yeah, and also though, my bigger point is the fact that fucking people fucking this week, literally the week we're recording this, Max Landis, who's been accused of various sex crimes and assaults and various things. Fucking dude looks like a fucking loser. Cause he to add that, is been brought on to write a treatment for a G.I. Joe movie because Paramount is ran by a fucking MAGA cult. And so it's I could also believe you if you told me Disney knew everything right up front and just didn't give a shit. I could believe
100% what I believe. 100% what I believe. So after Powder, Victor writes and directs a movie called Rites of Passage in '99. Don't know anything about it. Didn't feel like it was important to really talk about in that one. Because after Rites of Passage, in 2001, that's when Coppola funds Jeepers Creepers, and that is immediately followed up by the sequel, By the time Jeepers Creepers 2 is released, a lot more attention has been drawn to Salva's crimes, and now Hollywood producers and film companies and even actors are starting to shy away from Salva and his films. I didn't know anything about Victor Salva being a convicted child rapist, any of that, until the second Jeepers Creepers movie came out. And I had heard, and some, I don't remember exactly where I heard, but like some radio interview or radio article, they were discussing the movie, and they brought up that he is a convicted child sex offender, and that was really like the first time I was like, the guy that made Jeepers Creepers is a child sex offender? Like, what?
Dude, I didn't know until the third one came out. Like,
yeah,
and 12 years later.
Even then, like, that was like the first time I heard of it, and I was like, why are we not talking about this more?
I didn't know.
Why is this guy being allowed to make movies?
Yeah, but it's like, why are we not talking about this more? And and I'm like, okay, like did he just, like, I'm thinking, like, did he just get arrested, like, after the movie? You know what I mean? Like,
no, that is what when I was reading about it yesterday, and my first thought before I looked at all the dates and read further was like, this must have happened after this movie. And then when I saw it happen in 1988, and I thought, how could Hollywood let this happen?
Yeah, I was at the same reaction when I started researching for this episode a few weeks ago, more in depth. I was under the impression that this stuff had happened in between the second movie and the third movie coming out, and because there's a big gap in those movies.
Yeah.
So, and I just had never paid close enough attention, I guess, to the coverage, which, maybe speaks to like why someone like this can just kind of go skirt through life. But not really, because it's not my job to keep up with this shit. It's fucking Hollywood's fucking job to not give this guy opportunities. And for it to have happened before I was born, and this guy get the reins to multi-million-dollar budgets to make movies for major companies, like, just speaks to how fucking decrepit our world is, or at least our country. I can't, I don't know if
honestly,
New Zealand would allow this, but
I was gonna say I'm more inclined to believe like this would happen in today's climate than back then, which is sad.
Yeah,
true. So yeah, but yeah, so after the second movie is really when I find out that Salva is a convicted sex offender, and was shocked that it wasn't like something that was constantly brought to the forefront. I felt like, why is it every time I see an article about Jeepers Creepers or anything talking about this franchise that they don't mention anything about his crimes? Like,
and that's
why?
interesting because, Slate, you had mentioned Roman Polanski in our group chat.
Yes.
And every time he comes up, his crimes come up. Every time I read it, that's always something that's mentioned.
Yeah, it's almost like bigger. I'm surprised that if you want to tell people about like your like.
Yeah, I did not like. I think I'd heard like once or twice before mention of Roman Polanski like having an inappropriate relationship or with a younger woman, and I didn't know much about it either. But doing some research, I found out that Roman Polanski drugged and raped what was she, 13?
Mm-hmm.
A 13-year-old French model, and went on to then like basically flee the country because he was afraid of being arrested, and then made a movie, and that movie is nominated for Best Picture, and then he wins like Best Director after that. What the fuck?
He could not even be there in person to accept his award because he would be arrested.
He's never left France. He barely ever leaves France now.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the
should have been him and not Sharon Tate.
The craziest thing about that thing is the woman that he's was drugged and raped has since come out like just a few years ago talking about how like
Josh,
never
let that one
deserved
go.
the hate. Like I mean,
she thought it was normal.
Hell. Like it's just like. I can understand that.
Do you think he paid her a lot of money just to say that?
It seemed like, I hate to be the conspiracy theorist, but yeah, I'd go out there and say something like that too if someone floated me like $10 million or something like, yeah, he didn't rape me. Like, I mean, I hate that. I hate to even put that on another person, like, because I like to believe that people will speak what their truth is and how they perceive things, and if she perceives things that way, then I can't tell her that she's.
Doesn't make the crime less heinous. It does not make the crime less heinous.
It could
whether
also
she says
be
it or not.
a defense mechanism of if I tell myself that I wanted this,
Gives you some of the power.
Then that makes it okay. But
so again, after Jeepers Creepers 2, more Hollywood production companies, film companies, actors are starting to shy away from Salva in his films. Jeepers Creepers 3 has a really hard time being made because they're making the film in Canada, and there's casting calls for child actors in this movie, and Canada is actively speaking out, telling actors and their parents and even actors of teenage age and all actors of all ages, do not do this movie. Do not support Victor Salva. Do not take your child to be a star in his film. And they're putting him on blast, saying, look, this man is, a convicted felon and arrested, served crime for sexual assault against a 12-year-old boy. Like, do not show up wanting to be the star of Jeepers Creepers 3. So they had a really hard time, like, making the movie. Canada was trying their best to keep the film from essentially being made.
Mm-hmm. Good on you, Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. At least somebody's got some fucking sense. So they're actively speaking out and trying their best for people to not participate in that movie. Salva is quoting and saying this about his past. He says, I pled guilty to a terrible crime, and I've spent the rest of my life trying to make up for it. For almost 20 years, I've been involved with helping others. I've been in therapy, and I've made movies. But I paid my debt to society, and I apologize to the young man. All I can do is hope that people will give me a chance to redeem myself. That all sounds fine and dandy until you find out that there's a line in Jeepers Creepers 3 that clearly shows Victor Salva has not learned a fucking thing while he was in prison, has not redeemed himself.
This
because
is a fucking cherry on top right here.
Yes, there is there's a female character in the film of Jeepers Creepers 3 who is a victim of sexual assault by her father at a young age. Another character is stated in the script, and they actually fucking filmed this, and the production company forced them to remove this line from the movie because they just felt like it was too much because it's Victor Salva. But Victor Salva wrote in the script about a child being sexually assaulted by her father, and another male character says, well, can you blame him, though? I mean, look at her. The heart wants what it wants. Am I right?
Do you think he thought that was funny?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I think it was just him trying to justify what he did.
Yeah, and also and maybe like poking fun at himself. Like that's like.
Oh,
which is
I'll do a little nod to it so people. I'm
yeah,
on
like
the
a
joke.
self-referential like especially at that time, like just the nature of like movie making it by that point is, everything's becoming more self-referential. It's like it's just winking a nod to the audience, the Josh Whedon kind of style of writing, like oh
yeah,
Jesus.
So telling everybody that you're terribly sorry for your crimes and you've paid your debt to society and you've apologized to Nathan Forrest Winters and you've learned your lesson and all of these things sounds great until you write that in the script and decide to have someone else be the mouthpiece for that. So fuck you, Victor Salva. We could talk about this literally for hours, weeks, days, months, but if you want more information about it, like I said, please check the links in the show notes and do some research yourself. I felt like while this is obviously an extremely sensitive subject, it needed to be discussed. And I guess the question here that we've already kind of talked about is, are we able to separate the art from the artist? Can we allow ourselves to enjoy the movies while we know just how despicable this man is and Francis Ford Coppola? Like, does this? I mean, Allison, would you ever watch this movie again, knowing what you know now?
Maybe. If I, yeah, if there was someone I thought who would enjoy it and wanted to see it, yeah, I don't think I will go on my own and watch it again, but I do think it's a good movie. I'm glad Justin Long had the chance to get a start to his career, but
yeah, it's hard. I like this movie. I certainly imagine I will watch it again at some point in my life with, my wife. I can't remember if she'd said that if she'd seen this or not, but she's a big horror fan, and I certainly enjoy the movie, and I can see myself showing it to my son someday, and watching it as part of like a October, horror movie marathon or whatever, or a May horror movie marathon, as is the case this month on our show. I, we'll talk about this later in the year, and this is so much worse than this person in terms of like the crime. Like, obviously this is a crime. Like, this person did a horrendous thing, but we'll talk later in the year about J.K. Rowling and how she has just become just a big advocate against trans people, and uses every dollar that flows through Harry Potter is something that she's actually basically said that, like, I will use my wealth to fund hate campaigns, basically. And that makes it hard to be someone who likes Harry Potter. Like, and that's something, I won't say look forward to that conversation, but I think it'll be similar to this conversation in terms of like what that means in terms of being a fan of something like that. But here, separating, and I think this movie becomes it's hard to watch this the same way once because you start, like, you'll just naturally, I think, start watching, like, are there hints? Like, that's just how people are. Like, that's how we kind of just as humans sort of engage with art sometimes. It's like, is he telling us stuff about himself? And I think there's ways you can look at that and read into it, but also it is a well-made movie. It is hard to, I'll say this, dude can make a movie. I mean, or at least he could at this point. I mean, by the time Jeepers Creepers 3 came around, that might not so much be the case, but it's a really well-made movie, and something that is easy to watch, enjoyable to watch, and I don't think I think if you're someone who thinks that you can't make that separation, like, that's your right. Like, you shouldn't feel bad about that either. But if you're somebody who, and this is wishy-washy, there's people that'll listen to this, I'm sure, and think like, well, you guys, are all fucking weirdos for thinking you can make that separation. That's fine, whatever. If you think that's fine. But I think I think you can do it. I believe that, and it's maybe that's just me justifying wanting to, enjoy something that was made by a shitty person. I don't know, but I don't see it that way, because I can, I don't know. The Godfather's fucking incredible too, and I've learned through the process of making this episode that Francis Ford Coppola is probably a fucking shitty person too. So I think where it gets hard is everything, like, how many shitty people have made things that we don't even know about? Like, that's another thing. Like, and that's like a straw man thing. Like, I don't want to get into that. Like, it's a kind of a silly way to look at stuff. But, like, there's a good chance anything that we enjoy has been, tainted by somebody behind the scenes. I think about it, and just in not just entertainment, but like our work, like our day-to-day work. Like, these are the things, I'm involved in creative things, and I know people who help make some of the stuff I do, and like some of the things they believe, or like and some of the stuff they say, like behind closed doors, and it's like, and you fucking suck, like, and you're out here like putting this message into the world that says one thing, and you don't agree with any of it. Like, it's like, it's so, it's just how we've kind of formed society is, unfortunately, like everybody kind of has a say in some creative exploits, and that can lead to situations where you have to kind of decide how you feel about it. And I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think whether you can make that separation or not is up to you. And I think it's okay to be choosy about it too. Like I think if you think, yeah, I can enjoy this, and I can, yeah, fuck that pedophile, and he can go eat a dick. Eat, that's bad. That's a terrible phrase. Eat shit.
Josh.
That was terrible.
Josh,
that was bad.
I think you need to stop.
Yeah,
I think you got to stop there.
But I also think
an over age of 18 dick.
That was
okay?
That was bad.
Yeah,
that
make
was
sure it's an adult consenting dick, please.
Oh man. But I also think I think if you wanted
He's
to,
still going.
I think if you wanted to, if another line isn't something you can, if you have to draw the line somewhere else with somebody else, I think that's okay too. So.
Okay.
Oh, that was terrible. Right. I'm so sorry.
Okay, I will try to follow that with I've already said it. Like I'm big on trying to separate the art from the artist. I will watch this movie again. It does I still can thoroughly enjoy the movie, and honestly, like a lot of it, I had never even put the 2 and 2 together of him sniffing Derry's underwear as like a, internal thought for Salva until you mentioned it, an hour ago on this podcast. So,
and that's just me projecting that on there.
No, yeah, but once you said it, I'm like, oh, that tracks. So I feel like I'm very good at being able to put blinders on and just enjoy it for what it is. But obviously it's one of those things that, yeah, when I get older, or when my daughter gets older, and anytime this movie gets brought up, you best believe I will be discussing who Victor Salva is, and it's crazy because I haven't watched The Godfather or Godfather 2 since finding all this out about Francis Ford Coppola, but it is gonna really make me kind of look at it in a new light when I see those movies. And anything that Francis Ford Coppola is attached to now makes me kind of feel almost similar to how I feel about Darren Aronofsky, in the sense that if I see your name attached to it, I'm pretty much going to instantly tune it out. I hope Megalopolis ends up being the biggest flop ever. I know that it's already been a massive flop, but I don't know. I hope it just sinks more and more money and ruins his entire estate and makes Francis Ford Coppola go fucking bankrupt. Sophia Coppola seems cool, and I'm good with her for now, but her father can fuck off.
It does make you wonder, because when you look at his filmography, it's interesting that he, obviously Godfather's the fucking those first two, especially, are the biggest.
His Bram Stoker's
ever.
Dracula is one of my favorite movies, man.
But so around there though is when his filmography really starts to he's made a lot of movies I never even heard of. He's only made a handful of movies since that Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it kind of makes you wonder, did he lose his fastball? I mean, probably, because some of that just happens with age, it seems like, a lot of times. But also, did he kind of start ostracizing himself a little bit? Again, this is just me being very speculative. I have nothing to base this off of. But is this did some of this situation also it did have an effect on him, in the sense of maybe people just didn't want to work with him as much either, in terms of, given how closely he had associated with this guy, and maybe he has skeletons in his closet that people know about that we don't know, that aren't out there, and I don't know. But it's interesting, when you kind of put these two things together and start looking at the overlap, it's it starts to make a lot more sense why this guy had to self-fund this grand vision of his final movie, and probably, kill his family's inheritance.
The reason why we're all here 2.5 hours later, I had a feeling this was going to be, probably the longest podcast of the year, given the subject material, and we're probably pushing right up to it. probably close to the runtime for our draft. But 25 years later, Jeepers Creepers, does it matter?
I will insist upon yes because of the reason we talked on this show so long. Like that's if you're to look at the movie itself, just the movie. No, I think the movie itself. I like the movie, but I think the movie itself. I don't know that there's anything there that. I mean, I guess it launched Justin Long, but like it's not like he's like, he's not Johnny Depp, he's not Kevin Bacon, he's not George Clooney. He's a really good actor. But okay, it matters because it was one of his early films, I guess. But I think it matters because it is a really, it's an artifact of this time where that echoes like the time we're in now too, where like bad people keep getting to make movies and get paid to do stuff in Hollywood, and like it's easy to look at that and have a reactionary lens on it of like, man, like MAGA, like fuck these people, like they're only getting to do this because Donald Trump's the president. Like, this shit's been happening for a long time and will probably continue to happen regardless of who is in charge, and whether it's executives in Hollywood or presidents or whatever. And I think it matters because of mostly the conversation surrounding it. I feel like that would be how I would advocate for it to matter.
That's kind of how I feel about it. It's almost a cautionary tale in some regards, that people should know the backstory behind this movie and why we need to keep issues like this in the conversation, because we need to make sure that it's not normalized. But I could have seen if, let's say, Victor Salva had never done that crime and 2001 he makes this movie, I could see this movie mattering because it launched him into a big career. Because I think it is really well made, and you can see the sparks of genius that, for instance, Ford Coppola thinks the world just can't go without, but
we'd be sitting on Scream 7 and Jeepers Creepers 5 this year, like...
Yeah, but with the context of what he's done, it's the whole background swirling behind this movie, I think does kind of make it matter. But
yeah, obviously I think this movie matters. It's why I drafted this movie, because I felt like this conversation was one that absolutely needed to be had. I wanted to bring more light to Victor Salva, because I think that the majority of people who watch this movie and have seen it maybe only have heard that he's been convicted of sexual assault and don't really know the details of everything, or don't even know it. Most of the people probably don't, and it needs to be discussed. But I think this movie matters also from a sense that, again, horror was in a bad place in 2001. It's not great. There's not a lot of great movies. There's not a lot of great concepts, ideas, not a lot of great like horror actors or actresses or performances. Like, it's just really salt and pepper, bland, if you will. Like, it's cookie cutter, and this breaks that mold. And this seems like innovative, and it's practical effects with some, obvious CGI as well. And it's got the creative juices flowing. It's one of those horror movies that like has your mind going, and you're thinking, and you're like, what is this? And you're, instead of just like sitting there and like, all right, well, that kill was cool, or oh, well, that was like, you're invested in it. And it felt more like a real film than just another horror movie. I would say this film is far superior as a film than Hannibal, which was the biggest horror release of this year. You see what I'm saying? So like, that's why I think this movie matters, aside from everything else.
The thing I would add too is it did spawn a franchise, and that franchise really just cratered, not because of the movies. They were profitable early on, it was because of the taint of the director. And I mean, because obviously, like,
again,
like
part 2 broke the record for the opening weekend for Labor Day. So like, that doesn't happen if this movie is not great.
The time span between 2 and 3 is so disjointed. Not because I'm sure they would have loved to have made another sequel, but by that point he'd become so toxic, and the word was out on this guy, and it just got to where they finally they weren't embarrassed enough about it beforehand to shut him down. But they finally reached a point where they grew a fucking spine and said, sorry, we can't work with you anymore. But yeah, like Allison's right, there's an alternative universe where he's like not a child rapist, and he lives with this franchise for a long time, and like we're on Jeepers Creepers 7 or whatever, or he goes off and maybe he becomes Eli Roth. I don't even like Eli Roth stuff, but like he
becomes an icon of the genre,
out there and does a lot of different stuff, and instead we can see what happened.
There's an alternate universe where he's one of the top people that are at Comic-Cons doing photos and autographs, and like the thought of that is fucking repulsive now.
And you know what? I would be stunned if he's not already doing something like that, if it's not going to happen before he dies. Like, I will be stunned if we don't hear about something like that at some point.
Well, part of me thinks, and this is the cynic in me, I guess, like, part of me believes that maybe the reason why 3 took so long and why we never really got a Victor Salva version of 4, and he's kind of, again, gone away as far as being in the limelight. Part of me wonders if 1 and 2 happen, and maybe on the set of 2, or somehow like between the script and the line he used about the sexual assault in 3, maybe something else happened on the set of 3 or at a Hollywood party, and hush money was given, and they decided we're not gonna bring this guy in to do any more movies. Coppola's paid off this victim, but we're done. Like, I don't know. That would be the reason why I would think maybe 3 took so long, or maybe we didn't get, any funding for 3 and 4 and everything else. But I hope that I'm wrong, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's just one of those things that an NDA was signed and we move on.
He and Bryan Singer can just move off to an island together.
Oh, God, another guy that's gotten a fucking Brett Ratner.
Yeah, Brett Ratner. Yeah. Okay, guys. That about wraps it up. Thanks for dropping down our pipe of full of dead bodies that are hung up all over the walls like the Sistine Chapel. Show notes are in the description, along with links to all of our online hangouts. If you've hung around for almost, damn near 3 hours, like, we appreciate you so much. Please leave a review on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Instagram. Like us and comment on YouTube. Tell us what you think. Allison, Josh, anything you guys want to say?
Sorry. Again, thank you for hanging with us. It was a heavy episode, and so if you've made it this far, certainly appreciate you. And go, I would tell you, usually I tell you to go watch this movie, and I won't discourage you from that. But go also, if you want to go watch something lighter and happier after listening to this, please do it, even if it's not from 2001.
Find a free way to watch this movie if you decide you want to watch it.
Pirate.
Yeah, sell Johnny the high seas.
Okay, all right. So, on the next episode, Josh is going to tell us why Japan is afraid of computers. Right, Josh?
Yes, I am pumped to talk next week about Pulse. That is the 2001 original version of Pulse, not the 2006 American remake of Pulse. We will, or at least I will, talk about both of those movies, at least the American remake, at some small length next week. But yeah, I'm pumped. So put on your reading glasses, get the subtitles going and join us. It's I think an excellent movie. So can't wait.
I've seen the American version, and while I feel like it came a little bit on the tail end, copycatting a lot of the other American remakes of J-horror movies. There were I remember there being some scenes in it that I thought were really effective, but I'm really excited to watch the Japanese version.
I'm going to reserve all my comments for Pulse for next week.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, spoiler. Slate sucks.
Well, I didn't say that. I didn't say if I liked or disliked it. I said I'm going to wait until next week to talk about it. I might really like the movie.
It's okay. We shit all over Swordfish, and Slate was like,
yeah,
you guys.
I'll zig when you guys zag, okay? I'm curious to hear what Allison thinks about it. So yeah, but that's next week's episode. Be sure to check that out. You can watch Pulse on Prime Video. So check it out and then tune in and catch us on that. Till then, guys, if you hear Jeepers Creepers playing on a record, run.
I smelled you earlier.
Be eating you.